September 11th, 2001. This is News Radio 970 WFLA.
America's symbols of might, both economically and militarily, have been attacked by terrorists. The World Trade Center in New York City demolished. The Pentagon in Washington, D.C., partially demolished.
The resolve of our great nation is being tested. But make no mistake, we will show the world that we will pass this test.
Commander-in-Chief President Bush, the Atlantic Fleet's been called to help defend New York City and Washington, D.C. The World Trade Center was leveled by two commercial airliners that were hijacked and flown right into each tower about 18 minutes apart. This man helped rescue some people.
Pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. He was there and he was crying, and there was another gentleman crying, and for help. We couldn't get to him. We tried to get through we went through the buildings. We were lost. Both staircases, the backside was completely blown away.
There was another plane that hit the Pentagon, partially demolishing that building. A fourth plane crashed near Pittsburgh. It was thought to be on its way to attack Camp David. Larry Jacobs, ABC News.
Here's our number in Hillsborough, 990-WFLA, Pinellas, 461-WFLA, or toll-free, 800-969-WFLA. We'll take your phone calls all afternoon. We are also taking ABC status reports 4 times an hour. We will keep you up to date on everything that is going on. And we will talk and listen to each other, maybe in a way that we haven't done for quite some time. As I came in this morning, I don't know about you, but it all seems so surreal. How even this morning, I was on the phone with Stu at about 8:30. So we were getting ready to go over what we were going to do on the show today. And I said the biggest thing that's happening is probably the economy. And George W. Bush being in town screwing up our highways. I was shaving as I heard Jack, Ted, and Sharon say that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. And at first I thought it would be just a small Cessna. And when I saw the size of the hole and heard speculation that it was an airliner, Had a gnawing feeling at the bottom of my stomach. It was a beautiful day in New York. Clear blue sky. There's no way a plane could miss seeing the World Trade Center. Stu called me. He said, "Did you see the news?" And as we were on the phone, we both watched in horror as a second plane hit the World Trade Center. I said, at that time, we're under attack. They're going for icons. They want to take down the World Trade Center. Minutes later, the Pentagon. Now our planes are grounded, and I wonder, how long? I don't know exactly what we're looking for today on the phones. I don't know whether we're looking for answers or for questions. I don't want to hear the nonsense that this is caused by our former president. I don't want to hear that this is a problem with our current president. I don't want to hear any of that today. The only thing I want to hear are the voices of you. As we all try to deal with the loss of the other voices today. Our number in Hillsborough is 990, Pinellas 461, or toll-free 800-969-WFLA. We're opening up our phones to you next.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
2:30. Good afternoon. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA. A day that will live in infamy. Many government and public places shut down today in apparent fear that terrorist attacks in New York and Washington could spread. State Capitol, Walt Disney World, airports, courthouses, state universities across the state are closed. NASA sent its 12,000 workers home. Let's get the very latest on the national scene and update from the people of ABC News.
The U.S. military is on its highest state of alert at this hour in the wake of an unprecedented terrorist attack on American targets. New York City's Twin Trade Center towers, once the jewel of the Manhattan skyline, crumbled into a heap of dust after being hit by commercial aircraft in what witnesses said was like a scene from a horror movie.
Pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. He was there and he was crying, and there was another gentleman crying, and for help. We couldn't get to him. We tried to get through we went through the buildings. We were lost. Both staircases, the backside was completely blown away.
The loss of life is untold. The Pentagon was also hit by a plane today, leaving the nation's capital feeling very vulnerable. ABC's Pam Coulter joins us live from Washington with the latest.
Karen, fear, chaos, and anger are the reactions sweeping the Capitol after the series of terrorist attacks, one of which has left part of the Pentagon smoldering. More than 50 employees are being treated at local hospitals after a large plane hit the building this morning. Explosions were heard or reported near the U.S. Capitol and the State Department. A fire fire was reported not far from the White House. Federal offices have been evacuated, airports and schools closed, and the D.C. and Virginia National Guards put on alert. Military aircraft said to be patrolling the skies over the Capitol. Karen?
ABC's Pam Coulter live in Washington. A fourth commercial aircraft also crashed today in Pennsylvania shortly after a passenger aboard telephoned authorities to report it had been hijacked. There were 100 aboard and no survivors. Senator John McCain is calling it an act of war. President Bush is vowing to find and punish the culprits, saying freedom has been attacked by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. I'm Karen Chase.
Just to get you up to date with what is and is not happening, airlines grounded, of course, by the FAA. MacDill Air Force Base under very tight security. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside Mall, Lakeland Square Mall closed. Dillard's grand opening gala scheduled for tonight canceled. All 11 state universities are closed. St. Pete JC closed tonight. Hope to resume tomorrow. HCC and University of Tampa campuses are closed. Pinellas County Back to School Night canceled. Florida Greyhound bus stations are now closed. Major and minor league baseball games canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Disney World, and Discovery Cove closed. Cowboy Junkie and Janet Jackson concerts are postponed. We'll continue to keep you updated with in-depth team coverage. Don Richards, News Radio 970, WFLA.
Hillsborough, our number is 990-WFLA, Pinellas 461, or toll-free 800-969-WFLA. Let's go to Sharon Taylor, who is out now at the Home Depot. Hello, Sharon.
Hey, Glenn. Yes, I am. I'm here at the Home Depot on Dale Mabry, just south of Gandy. I pulled in here about 2 o'clock, Glenn, and the line was already stretching from the end of the parking lot. This is the line to donate blood. From the end of the parking lot as you pull in from Dale Mabry to all the way around the entrance, and it snakes around the parking lot. There are literally hundreds of people here to give blood. Florida Blood Services put out the call that they need blood to help people injured in this catastrophe in New York and in Washington, D.C., and I'm telling you, people here in the Tampa Bay area are answering the call. I asked one lady what made her come out today, and she says, because I know they need it, and this is all I can do right now to show my support for America. And I think that's why this many people are here today. So if you can, please come donate blood. You can be minimum 17 years old, bring your ID, drink lots of water. They have water here for you. It's very, very hot, so be prepared to stand in line for a long time. But we will be here, and so will Florida Blood Services till the last donor gives.
Thank you very much, Sharon.
Okay, Glenn.
We'll check in with you again next hour. That also happens tomorrow morning at Legends Field at 8 o'clock and at the Trop, where I will be tomorrow morning. And I hope to see you there. Luke, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Yeah.
Yes, Luke, go ahead.
I wanted to suggest that although we've just been beat on the head, we've still got our heads up, and I think we all ought to show the flag to show our solidarity and our patriotism.
Mine flies every day. If you don't have one, get one. Randy, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Thank you. I'm not trying to keep my composure when I say this, but when you play the national anthem, it's amazing the emotion it brings out. What I would like to see start with your show is 24 hours from the moment's first impact. I'd like to see every station, every TV station, anything that can get a signal out, play the national anthem in support of those who died today. Their families, our country, as a demonstration to the strength and determination of our country to the rest of this world. I want for one moment tomorrow, when that plays, that as a nation, as a community, wherever you are, you can look in the car next to you, you can know that the entire country has the strength and support and the determination to fight this, to not let it happen again, and to not be apathetic but strong in every way possible. And thanks for putting up with me trying to get that out.
That's all right, Randy. Thank you very much for your phone call. This program will start each hour with the national anthem. Today and tomorrow, and maybe through the week, and maybe longer, depending on what we are now facing. We have no idea what is going on behind the scenes or underground with our nation's leaders. I would only hope that there are tons of people that will actually fall to their knees today and pray for strength and guidance in our leaders. Back in a minute.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
News Radio 970 WFLA and the Glenn Beck Program on a few minutes early. We're going to remain on and live, and we will cover everything that is happening, any of the developments. If there's anything new that happens, we will, of course, cut away to it live. Our newsroom is all over this. We're taking live status reports from New York City at 20, 30, 50, and a top of every hour from ABC. Rush Limbaugh was not on today. It is my understanding that they couldn't get a signal out of New York. I don't know if that is true, but I know at least it was true for a few minutes at the beginning of his program when we were debating whether or not we took Rush or not, or stayed with the coverage. That was the story that I heard. I don't know if you have had a chance to speak to any of your loved ones, especially if they live in New York or Washington. Washington, D.C. has been closed. Only medical personnel are allowed in the streets. We work in a building with 350 people. It is my understanding that one of our coworkers spoke to her sister, who was in the World Trade Center on the 90th floor. Sister had an opportunity to call her father to let him know that she was all right. They have not heard from her since. Rick, you're on the Glenn Beck Program, News Radio 970 WFLA.
Thanks, Glenn. I'm Rick Michaels with the Salvation Army, and this evening at 7 o'clock we are opening up our Community Worship Center on Sly Avenue at 1100 West Sly, which is right across from Lowry Park Zoo. We're going to have from 7 to 8 a time of prayer for our nation and for the victims, for their families. And we just invite the community to come and join us in that time. No real program. It's just simply to come together to pray.
Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate you letting us know if there are any other faiths or churches, mosques or synagogues that are holding prayer sessions. Feel free to let us know. Terry, you're on the Glenn Beck Program, 970 WFLA.
Hi, Glenn. I'd just like to state three things. First, I was listening to WFLA on the way to work this morning, and when they cut away to the news, I heard them say about a plane crash at the World Trade Center, and I thought, wow, And then I heard the guy say, my God, another plane crash. And it just sent me into like a dream state. It's like, what's happening? And I got to work, and I started, listening to it, and it was just unbelievable. And I can't tell you that the feelings inside, I mean, the heart-crushing pain that goes out to those victims and their families, but yet the anger, that's stirred up within. But the heartbreak does override the anger. And on speculation, didn't most of the flights come out of Boston heading to L.A.? And I was just wondering if they had someone planted at the security gates to let them get weapons through.
Yeah, we don't know how they happened, but yes, the airlines came out of, the planes came out of Boston, but we don't know at this point, and I don't think we will, and that leads you to the question on when are we going to reopen our airports? I mean, it at least makes you feel a little more secure knowing that they came out of Boston. But when do they open our airports again? When do we feel comfortable seeing jets fly overhead? How strange it must be to be in New York City. See the island surrounded by fighters. John, you're on the Glenn Beck program, 970 WFLA.
First of all, I got to find out if these reports are true. I got a sister that works at USF, and I was told that there's been a bomb threat there, and they're not letting anybody leave.
We're not going to take any hearsay. You can call our news department. Or you can listen. If it has been confirmed, we will put it on the radio. You can't listen to all of the hearsay, all of the speculation of, I hear this is happening, I hear this is happening. Classes there have been canceled, but many things have been canceled. Major League Baseball has been canceled all over the country. The worst thing we can do is start to panic. Do we have time to take another call? All right. We need another status report from ABC in your phone calls. Hillsborough 990-461 or 800-969-WFLA.
This is Glenn Beck.
The U.S. military is on its highest state of alert. The Navy moving its Atlantic Fleet ships to sea in an effort to assist in the air defense of New York City and Washington, D.C. It comes after this morning's terrorist attacks on both cities, one that left New York's World Trade Center nothing but a pile of rubble. Mayor Rudolph Giuliani says the two planes that crashed into the Twin Towers were more than he could ever imagine.
You prepare for the worst, but you don't believe that it'll happen? And this is the worst.
And later, a plane plunged into the Pentagon.
There was significant damage to the west side of the Pentagon, which was hit by an aircraft. All federal office buildings have been closed and evacuated. Top federal officials have been moved to safe locations, and highways are clogged by employees fleeing the city. The D.C. National Guard has been ordered to duty, and military fighter planes are circling parts of Washington. There is also an enormous security force around the Capitol and the White House.
It's ABC's Bill Greenwood, Daria Albinger, ABC News.
This is Glenn Beck.
Our number in Hillsborough is 990-WFLA, Pinellas 461, or toll free 800-969-WFLA. Hello, Bob.
Yeah, this is Bob. I want to first give my condolences out to the people that were killed or injured up there in New York and at the Pentagon. And I got a couple questions. Number one, how long did people in this country think it was going to take before something like this was going to happen? I mean, with the FBI problems we've been having with, the decreased power of the FBI and problems with the CIA, I mean, when you're worried about your own house, how can you take care of the country as a whole? The other question is, what are we going to do when we find out who did this? Are we just going to arrest them and charge them? Or are we going to take them out. I mean, personally, as long as you allow terrorists to live, they have no heart, they have no conscience. I mean, obviously, when you watch this plane, I watched the plane go into the building, and I couldn't believe it. I saw that plane turn a whole, 180 degrees right at the building. What kind of human being would do that with civilians and children in the building? That to me is no heart, no conscience, one-track mind, and then they say, okay, we're going to let the people that are in charge of these people live. We're going to charge them and put them in jail. What's that all about? I think that
So, Bob, what do?
We locate them and we take them out.
Well, I don't think that there's any doubt that if let's say it's Osama bin Laden, that if we can find him, there's no doubt that we'll take it out. But is that enough to take him out? What about Afghanistan? Afghanistan has been harboring Osama bin Laden. Do we allow them to get away with it?
No.
So then what do?
We take control like we had before. I mean, this country's not a superpower anymore. I don't believe that the United States of America is a superpower anymore.
That would leave who as the superpower, Bob?
There really isn't one.
You're saying America is not only is America not a superpower, there is no superpower in the world.
That's correct. When four people, maybe more, can fly planes on this country's soil into buildings like they did, what's to stop them from doing it again?
You're telling me because they can go and grab 4 planes, that makes us not a superpower? I mean, sure, in one way, look at the complexity of this plan. Look what it took to pull this plan off. This plan was genius. It hit us where we live. It went after our icons. How many landmarks are standing because they didn't get away with it? You don't think that they just planned on the Pentagon and the World Trade Center, do you? We're being attacked because we are a superpower. But before everybody gets all righteously hot-headed, before everybody says attack, 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 just understand what that means. Boy, there's nothing I would like more to find the people. Palestine, they're passing out candy in the streets. They are celebrating in the streets. The man in me would love to drop a nuke if they had anything to do with it. Absolutely. But before we drop it, before we pave over a country and make it into a parking lot, because we can, and we have a right to, I think, at this point, know what it means. I think anybody who has been alive a lot longer than I have know that this could be the beginning of World War III. Depending on our response. An ABC News update next. Your phone calls after the governor.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. The Bay Area's #1 for news and talk. This is News Radio 970 WFLA, Tampa Bay.
3 o'clock, good afternoon. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA. Governor Jeb Bush about to address the state of Florida. We'll have his remarks for you live. Until we go to him, there is word from New York's mayor that the death toll from the destruction of the World Trade Center's Twin Towers will be, his words, more than any of us can bear. He says the numbers won't be known until tomorrow at the earliest, but the dead will include police and firefighters who were killed when the Twin Towers collapsed. There was a frantic call today from a passenger aboard a United Airlines plane who had locked himself in a bathroom with his cell phone saying, "We're being hijacked, we're being hijacked." He then told dispatchers the plane was going down. The flight that crashed in a Pennsylvania town was one of 4 planes that crashed in America today. President Bush says today's terrorist attacks are a test of America's resolve, but says we'll show the world that we will pass this test. From a military base in Louisiana, Bush assured Americans that government is functioning and that the terrorists will be found and will be punished. The president reportedly now has flown to an Air Force base in Nebraska. The president, the vice president, other U.S. government officials have been whisked to safety in various locations. All air flights have been canceled by order of the FAA. Word from MacDill Air Force Base is that security is very tight as we await the governor. Let's see if we can bring in 970 WFLA's Al Ryan for the very latest. Al, a brief update, if you will.
Don, go ahead and interrupt me when the governor starts. MacDill Air Force Base has the HQ of Central Command that oversees all American military deployments and operations in the Middle East. As you know, played a major role, or the major role, in the Persian Gulf War. And you can bet it will be a major player in the events of the next few days and weeks, particularly if it's determined that this attack originated in the Mideast. Security here has been at ThreatCon Delta all day. That means war is imminent. And at Force Protection Condition Delta, the highest state of alert. Air Force security personnel, they're in Kevlar helmets and body armor, full combat gear, have been searching vehicles going on base all day. Even official military vehicles with uniformed military personnel have been searched. Air Force personnel here are under orders not to talk to the press, which you can understand why. About it, the U.S. military is at war following these horrific events on this day, only we don't know as yet who the enemy is. Reporting live from MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Alan Ryan, News Radio 970 WFLA.
All right, that is Al Ryan, as he said, live at MacDill Air Force Base. We're hearing crowd noise in Tallahassee as we await the beginning of Governor Jeb Bush's speech. Just to let you know what is going on, all flights have been grounded by the FAA. All roads in and out of MacDill closed. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside, Lakeland Square Mall, all closed. Dillard's grand opening gala scheduled for tonight, canceled. All 11 state universities are closed. St. Petersburg Junior College closed tonight. They hope to resume classes tomorrow. At HCC, all campuses are closed. University of Tampa is closed. Back to school nights canceled in Pinellas County. School system operated as normal today. All Florida Greyhound bus stations are now closed. All Major League Baseball games, including the Rays and Red Sox, obviously, canceled. Minor league games canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, all Disney-related theme parks, including Discovery Cove, are closed. Cowboy Junkies concert has been postponed. Janet Jackson concert postponed until tomorrow night. How can you help? Blood drives. Home Depot on South Dale Mabry right now. Blood Services Bloodmobile at Tropicana Field tomorrow morning beginning at 8. In Bradenton, a blood drive at Ariel Films on 15th Street East. Prayer meetings tonight at 7, Northeast Christian Church, 53rd Avenue South in St. Petersburg. At 7, the Faith United Church of Christ on Drew Street in Clearwater, holding a prayer service. 7 in Valrico, the Holy Innocents Episcopal Church, holding a service. They'll follow that with counseling. They're at 604 Valrico Road. At 8 o'clock tomorrow night at Palm Lake Christian Church. Food Line cash and carry stores collecting food for the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. Contributions are requested in the form of money instead of canned goods. As we say, we are awaiting the statement of Governor Bush. He, the Department of Transportation, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, other state agencies met earlier today to take a look at Florida and its possible involvement in these terror attacks. There is nothing, they say, that makes Florida a specific target. But there have been some closures of state office buildings because of the attack. NASA sent all its 12,000 workers home. Officials closed the main spaceport at the Kennedy Space Center. The president left, obviously, Sarasota for Louisiana, now apparently Nebraska. Disney World has sent home many of its 50,000 employees. Busch Gardens in Tampa, SeaWorld in Orlando, Discovery Cove, and Universal Studios in Orlando also closed today because of apparent fear that the terrorist attacks in New York and Washington might spread. No indication that that has indeed happened, but no one is taking any chances. The military on its highest state of alert following terror attacks at the Pentagon and New York's World Trade Center, at the home of the Atlantic Fleet in Norfolk. Admiral Robert Natter said there hasn't been an attack like this since Pearl Harbor. The Pentagon says top Defense Department officials are okay. We will take a brief break. If Governor Bush does indeed begin to speak, we will go immediately to him on News Radio 970 WFLA. And we continue in-depth team coverage on News Radio 970 WFLA. We are awaiting the governor in Tallahassee. We continue to hear room noise. When we do hear that he is about to speak, we will continue to bring you in-depth team coverage with his remarks. For the moment, that's it. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA.
Resolve of our great nation.
It was unbelievable.
The second building has just come down.
The second jet
is being tested.
Come crashing into the second tower.
I don't see a building. I see people.
Make no mistake.
Children without mothers and fathers tonight.
Oh, my God.
Make no mistake.
What is going on?
We will show the world that we will pass this test.
This is Glenn Beck.
Our national anthem. Go now to the governor of Florida, Jeb Bush.
In a terrorist offensive against multiple targets in two of America's most beautiful cities. The aim of the terrorists is clear: to hurt and to humble America. They've indeed hurt us, but they will never humble us. They will never humble us because Americans have always risen to the occasion when our liberty has been threatened and when liberty must be defended. America's leadership, strength, and history will lead us not only to survive this terrorist attack, but also to remember why we're the greatest country on the face of the earth. Here in Florida, we weep for our countrymen across the country who have lost loved ones today. Many of the folks in Washington, D.C. and the New York area who have lost their lives have family members here in Florida. I've been on the phone attempted to get on the phone with Governor Pataki and Mayor Giuliani. We've communicated with them to offer any support, both from the government perspective as well as from a people-to-people perspective for the state of New York, for the city of New York City, and, of course, Washington, D.C. We're also taking action today. Today I've signed an executive order declaring a state of emergency in the state of Florida. This is just a preemptive action to ensure that we're prepared for any eventuality. My executive order implements our state comprehensive emergency action plan. It appoints Florida Department of Law Enforcement Commissioner Tim Moore as incident commander and Craig Fugate as the state coordinating officer for disaster relief. I will introduce Commissioner Moore shortly, who will speak on specific security measures being taken to protect our citizens. Nevertheless, based on the information as we know it, and barring any developments to the contrary, the state of Florida will be open for business tomorrow morning. This includes the Capitol and all state universities and community colleges. The best way to defeat terrorism is to get back to work serving our people and our state. I encourage Floridians to contact their local governments for further information. I ask three things of every Floridian here today. First, if you have an American flag, fly it. I've directed state buildings to fly our Star-Spangled Banner at half-mast, our traditional public display of sorrow and loss. But I also ask all those Floridians who have flags to fly them. Even at half-mast, our flag, no flag in the world, flies as proudly and as majestically as the American flag. Second, I ask every Floridian seeking information or opportunities to help victims to contact their local blood center as well as their local Red Cross chapter. The local blood centers are able to assist in the relief of critical blood supplies, blood shortages that are going to exist and exist already in the New York area and Washington, D.C. Within 48 hours, the Red Cross will be able to provide information on the welfare of immediate family members. And if you want to get additional information, you can use the toll-free number 1-888-993-1023. By the end of today, we will also have myflorida.com, www.myflorida.com, available to get additional information on how to help during this time of grief and time of need. Third, I ask every Floridian who has ever prayed to pray tonight. Pray for the victims of this cowardly attack and their loved ones. Pray for the missing and the loved ones holding vigil between hope and despair. Pray for the emergency workers. We're standing here in Florida's Emergency Operations Center, and I know, as we all know, the quality and professionalism of those drawn to this profession. They are well trained for the types of devastating situations that they're dealing with now, and they need our prayers as well. America is a great nation. Its greatness is revealed most clearly in times of crisis. In times when we're challenged, we must not despair in this present challenge. We must be strong. Commissioner?
Thank you, Governor. Throughout the day today, we've been in constant contact with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies here in the state of Florida. We've organized our effort around what might be potential terrorist attacks here in our state. Our tourism attractions, our energy sites, our government buildings, our airports, our transportation and communication hubs here in our state. We've just completed our 2 p.m. conference call, and I can tell you still there's no verifiable direct information of any site in the state of Florida being the subject of these attacks. Several facilities have closed themselves voluntarily. Disney, Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, in an effort to protect our citizens. We've had some mandatory closings, as the governor mentioned earlier today. We closed the Capitol, the Turlington building. Some of the federal buildings have been closed by the GSA out of Atlanta. Some schools in South Florida, a few schools in South Florida have been closed, and all universities and community colleges have been closed. We continue to communicate directly with law enforcement, local law enforcement, state and federal, across our state to make sure that we're guarding against the unexpected. And again, we encourage the public, if you have any information, anything at all that seems the least bit out of the ordinary, we urge you to contact your local law enforcement agency or to contact the Department of Law Enforcement Intelligence Hotline at 1-800-342-0820. We've had a series of bomb threats. And let me say that, and remind everybody that a false bomb threat in the state of Florida is a felony. And I assure you we'll prosecute the people that are convicted of that make that call vigorously. That's taken valuable resources away from a public safety mission to respond to this kind of nonsense. And I encourage people that have information about those that might be engaging in this copycat activity and this despicable behavior to give us a call as well. At the governor's direction and following his communication to both the mayor and the governor of the state of New York and New York City, I've personally been in contact with my counterpart, Superintendent of New York State Police, Mr. Jim McMahon, for the state of New York, and offered any immediate assistance on the governor's behalf that he may need as they go about search and rescue and other affairs in that disaster. Our next conference call will be at 5:30 this afternoon, again with the state and local law enforcement counterparts around the state, and hopefully we'll have more to report then of business as usual. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Any questions?
Governor, to what extent do you think your father is going to weigh in on these discussions with your brother? Your father's been through something like this before.
Well, my father hasn't been through something like this before. I think you have to go back to December 7th, 1941 for something this magnitude. Having said that, I'm sure that my brother will get excellent advice from a lot of places inside and outside of government, and I'm confident that our country will respond in a way that is proper for the greatest country on the face of the earth to respond. But right now, we're in the process of extending our hearts and the hand of friendship to our brothers and sisters that are suffering right now in the New York area as well as Washington, D.C., and we're preparing, as we are responsible to do, for anything that might happen in the short run here in Florida. Yeah.
Governor, could you take us through how you came to learn about what was going on today and at what time your decisions were made about closing the Capitol?
Well, I was with at least half of you at the cabinet meeting, which was outside the Capitol for the first time at the State Board of Administration building. And as information came in, I sought the advice of Commissioner Moore and my office, and we made the determination, spoke to President McKay, made the determination that, at least as it relates to Tallahassee, given the fact that we're the fourth largest state, the state capitol building, given its height and obvious prominence for our state, was a target for some type of attack, and we made the decision, I think it was the proper one, to evacuate the Capitol. After the cabinet meeting, I came here to the Emergency Operations Center, and we've been working with local law enforcement officials and others to make sure that the implementation of a contingency plan to prepare for further terrorist attacks, that we're prepared. And I believe that as best as we can be, that we are. Our seaports, our airports, the power plants, communications, water, all of these things, the people responsible for implementing plans for moments like this are implemented. I think Floridians can feel quite safe. Yeah.
Governor, you spoke to your dad this morning. Pardon me, what was the nature of that conversation?
Excuse me?
You spoke to your dad this morning?
Well, I was just worried about him. I wanted to see how he was doing. I've checked with my children and my wife and my mom and dad, and they're all doing fine.
Did your dad offer you advice in any way?
No, he just was, he was en route to give a speech in Minnesota, I believe, and was made it to Wisconsin where he was grounded, and I think that's where he still is. Like a lot of people across the country, until air service begins again, people are going to be stranded in wherever they were. I have no idea.
Were you able to speak to Governor Pataki and Mayor Giuliani?
No, I wasn't, but my chief of staff did speak to either the chief of staff of the state of New York or the deputy chief of staff, and I've sent a fax to both of them that just shortly went out.
Specifically, is there anything you're offering as far as people, personnel?
They will begin through their, this is, again, you look out here and you see this Emergency Operations Center. New York has one, maybe not of the same magnitude since we have more disasters, but I'm sure the city of New York and the state of New York has a very good Emergency Operations Center, and they will begin to identify needs after they make their assessment. And I just wanted the governor and the mayor to know that Florida wants to be in the front of the line to provide help. We've asked for help on many occasions for many different reasons, given the natural disasters that we have, and our friends from all around the country have come to our aid. And on something like this, I think it's important to show our friendship and solidarity with the suffering that they're going to go through.
What First Lady taking? Spoken with the President?
No.
What precautions are you and the First Lady taking as far as safety?
Well, got the best protection in the country, in my opinion, with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I feel very safe, and so does my wife.
Governor, I'm sorry if you've already answered this question, but how long are we at level 2? Is that what level of security we're at, or?
Level for the Emergency Operations Center, it's at level 2 status. But
how long could we continue to operate at this level?
Again, based on what we know now, and based on, unless there's a change in information that we've received, we're going back to business as usual tomorrow. Now, the level 2 status for this operations center may remain, but the Lieutenant Governor and I are going to show up at our office and go to work, and the President of the Florida Senate and the Speaker of the Florida House will be there, and schools will be open, universities will be open, community colleges will be open, and that's the right thing to do, to respond to acts of terrorism, of cowardice, by paralyzing ourselves would be the exact wrong thing. That's exactly what whoever did this would want us to do. And so we're going to go back to business, not in any kind of rash way. We're going to continue to keep our guard up, of course, as we should. In a free society, we need to protect our freedoms. This is the new form of violence against the United States of America, and we should be vigilant. But that doesn't mean we're not going to go back to work. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going back to level 1 status and go back to work in my office.
The governor was with the president this morning when he found out what had happened. Can you describe what that was like?
Yes, I was with President Bush in Sarasota at Booker Elementary School, where he was finishing off a 2-day tour of some of Florida's educational facilities to discuss reading. It was obvious early on that there was a problem. We were made aware of the fact that there was a problem at the World Trade Center that involved an airplane which had collided with one of the 2 buildings originally. The president went about his business in a very professional and calm way, actually hearing from the students in first grade as they read to him until more information was gleaned. He then retired to a separate room where he was able to access all the information necessary. He asked me at that point if we would carry forward with the program after he paid his regrets to the students, the teachers, and the parents at Booker, which he did, called for a moment of silence in respect for any victims and for the United States in general, and then apologized for his hasty departure to see after the tragedy. We continued with the program, and I have to tell you that I have never been so shocked as an American, but I've never been so proud as an American to watch the President of the United States go about his business in the incredibly professional way that he did, mindful of those children and the teachers and the parents at Booker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. Glenn Beck.
Let's go to Ron. Thanks for holding, Ron. You're on the Glenn Beck Program, 970 WFLA.
Hey, Glenn. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
I'm not sure what to say. We need to retaliate. I'm a Vietnam veteran. It's bad enough to kill people in somebody else's country. I can't handle this. I would love to call the Israelis and say, you guys are strong, you're an alloy. You've been around allies forever. You complain about not having oil fields. You're going to get oil fields. We're coming in there, and we're going to take care of things, and you're going to be a big country. I can't handle it, Glenn. I can't handle people coming in our country like this.
Well, I will tell you this, Ron, that I don't know if you've seen the footage yet of the Palestinians.
Yeah, they
celebrating in the streets.
Yeah, great deal. Yeah.
But it made me feel exactly the way you feel on supporting Israel. You want to, I mean, I don't even think, I tried when I saw that, my first reaction was shock and horror. Then I started to wonder, well, wait a minute, have we ever done that? Have we ever celebrated in the streets? Did we celebrate anywhere in the Gulf War?
No.
Did you ever see a scene like that coming from America? At least when we kill people, we don't celebrate their death. At least when we do it with a heart full of grief. And we feel that that was the only option left open to us. I thank you so much for your phone call. Your number in Hillsborough is 990-WFLA. Pinellas is 461-WFLA, or toll-free anywhere, 800-969-WFLA. This is a date that will live in infamy for my generation. September 11th, 2001.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
3:30. Good afternoon. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA. Governor Jeb Bush says Florida is going back to business as usual in the morning. A lot of state agencies, a lot of the state capitol building, and a lot of other operations were closed today in the wake of the terror attacks on the United States. The governor says it's time to go back to business, not rashly, but to show that we are undaunted. You heard his remarks live on 970 WFLA. Let's get the very latest now from ABC Radio News.
President Bush has flown to the Strategic Air Command at a Nebraska Air Force base today in the wake of the terrorist attacks that toppled New York City's World Trade Center towers and set the Pentagon on fire. ABC's Ann Compton is with the president.
President Bush is driving in a small black sedan across off the tarmac to a location where Ari Fleischer tells us that he will be able to participate in a National Security Council meeting by teleconference. The president has with him just a skeleton staff: Karl Rove, Andy Card, Ari Fleischer, of course, Dan Bartlett, Gordon Gendreau. There are 5 members of the press corps allowed to travel with the president at this point.
The president said freedom itself had been attacked, and he vowed to pursue and punish the culprits. New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani said it was the worst thing he had ever seen, but he is urging New Yorkers and Americans to remain calm and not to let terrorists prevail.
We will strive now very hard to save as many people as possible and to send a message that the city of New York and the United States of America is much stronger than any group of barbaric terrorists.
The 3 buildings were struck by commercial jetliners. The death toll is not known, but New York Mayor Giuliani says it will be horrible. The U.S. military is on its highest state of alert. The Atlantic Fleet Command is positioning ships off the East Coast to provide air defenses for New York City and Washington. I'm Karen Chase, ABC News.
And just to update closings for you, of course, all flights grounded by order of the FAA. We may know in about a half an hour how that will shake down, as well as a reaction from the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County. They're holding a news briefing, and we'll have a report on that at the top of the hour. All roads in and out of MacDill closed. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside Mall, Lakeland Square Mall closed. Dillard's Grand Opening Gala scheduled for tonight canceled. State universities closed. St. Pete Junior College closed tonight. HCC, University of Tampa closed. Hillsborough County back to school nights canceled. Greyhound stations are now operating normally. All major and minor league baseball games canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Discovery Cove, and Disney-related theme parks closed. Cowboy Junkies and Janet Jackson concerts are postponed. Janet Jackson till tomorrow night. Blood drives at Home Depot on Southdale Maybury. Blood Services Bloodmobile at Tropicana Field tomorrow at 8 a.m. Starting now in Bradenton, Aerial Films Blood Drive, 15th Street East. Prayer meetings tonight at 7 Northeast Christian Church, 53rd Avenue South in St. Pete. The Faith United Church of Christ on Drew Street in Clearwater holding a prayer service at 7. 7 tonight in Valrico. Holy Innocents Episcopal Church holding a service, followed with counseling. Tomorrow night at 8, Palm Lake Christian Church will be holding a prayer meeting. Food Line Cash and Carry collecting food for the American Red Cross Disaster Relief. Contributions asked for in the form of money instead of canned goods. We will continue to keep you updated. Next scheduled update from ABC News at 10 before the hour. We'll have the very latest locally at the top of the hour. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA.
Glenn Beck.
All right, we have a lot to do today in a very short period of time, and we're going to need you to pay attention. First of all, at 7 o'clock, we are going to do a candlelight vigil here at the radio station in the parking lot at 7 o'clock after this program. If you are looking for a place to meet, if you are looking for a place to light a candle and say a prayer for those who have lost their lives, for not only those innocent victims, but also for all of those who are helping the victims, for the pilots and the crew of the planes. If you would like to meet us, we will be here at 7 o'clock at Gandy Boulevard. Now, there's a couple of things that I need. And I want you to get through on the phones and talk to Stu. Stu, we're putting this together on the air, and I apologize for it. Everybody here is running in a million different directions, and so we are going to need your help, listeners, to put this together. We need a place where we can buy 500 candles. I need a place right around here. In fact, I need a place that will deliver them to us. If you can sell us, the candles for candlelight vigils, if you can sell us those candles, we will buy them from you. But I need you to call Stu, or I need you to call the front desk. Now, I also have a couple of other rather large projects. The governor just asked us to fly flags. My flag is flying in front of my house now. If you have a flag, leave whatever you're doing and fly the flag now. If you don't have a flag, I want you to go get one. I need a company that will sell us in bulk flags. I need regular flags that you fly in front of your house. Tonight I would like to sell flags, and I'm not going to make a dime, and I don't want the person selling the flags. I want to pay cost for these, and I want the people who are buying them to pay nothing more than cost on these flags. But I want to make sure anybody who doesn't have a flag has an opportunity to buy a flag. And if you can't afford... If you can't afford a... We will buy the flag for you. So, I need you to call our front desk. My phone lines are jammed. You get through. I need 500 candles by 7 o'clock. I need a bunch of American flags that people can fly outside of their house. And I need a ton of Americans that are not ashamed or afraid to get on bended knee and not only pray for the victims of today, but pray for us, the survivors, and pray for guidance for everyone involved in our government. Now, Sharon is also out because while we might feel that there is nothing we can do, that we're helpless, they need blood. At the Home Depot, let's go to Sharon Taylor.
Hey, Glenn, I am here live at the Home Depot on South Del Mabry, a little bit south of Candy. This is the most amazing outpouring I've ever seen, Glenn. People were lined up by the hundreds from earlier this afternoon, standing in this heat. because they feel like this is all they can do, and so this is what they're going to do. They do have an urgent call. Florida Blood Services urgently, desperately needs blood. All you have to do is be 17, have a driver's license, and out here there are so many people that all kinds of businesses are coming to the aid of the folks standing in line. Zephyr Hills Water, a couple of large trucks pulled up a while ago and offloaded hundreds of cases of water. There's ice that other people have delivered. Somebody even made a call to bring some portalettes out here, because that, of course, will be a problem too later on. But it's just an amazing sight, Glenn. It's unbelievable. People that I've talked to in line say they were dumbstruck when they saw what happened this morning, and this is what they can do, so they are here. And they will be here. Florida Blood Services will be here for the remainder until the last person in line is able to give blood. Live from the Home Depot in South Del Mabry, Sharon Taylor, 970 WFLA.
Thanks, Sharon. Also tomorrow morning at Legends Field, they'll be drawing blood. I'll be at Tropicana Field tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. They need your blood, and maybe this will be the only way you can help out at this time. Again, that's at Tropicana Field and Legends Field tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. The blood drive at Home Depot, South Dale Mabry, just south of Gandy. Florida Blood Services and Sharon Taylor are there. We talk to you next.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Our number in Hillsborough is 990-WFLA. Pinellas 461, or toll-free 800-969-WFLA. A candlelight vigil here at 4002 Gandy Boulevard tonight at 7 o'clock. I hope to see you there. My website, has a different face to it today. 970WFLA.com has startling pictures as they continue to roll out of New York City, which is still covered in smoke and 2 inches of dust. I need my phone screen back, Stu. Thank you. Let's go to Dean. Thanks for holding. You're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hello, Glenn.
Hi.
This is an occasion in our time of our history. You'd mentioned this is a day that will live in infamy for this generation, and it truly will, sir. In fact, I can remember as I turned on the television, not since the Oklahoma City bombing have I not literally just breathed for almost a minute. And the shame of it all is the first thing we want to do, of course, is to take out those who are responsible. But we also need to gather together as a nation, because that's one thing that we do as the United States. We do unify when we do have tragedies like this. And there's a saying that you will never know what it's like to be in the highest mountain until you've been in that deepest valley. Right now we're in that deepest valley, but tomorrow we need to start climbing up that mountain and take care of business. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody. Thank you, sir.
I just scrolled down on my website, Chris Brady from NuclearCow.com. Has put the day in perspective in pictures. All the way from all of the explosions to the collapse of the World Trade Center to George Bush, the Pentagon, and people celebrating in the streets of Palestine. Eric, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hi, Glenn. I just wanted to quickly say that we're having a prayer service also tonight. First Christian Church, Tarpon Springs on Keystone Avenue at 7 o'clock. And then I told Stu that I'm an airline pilot, so obviously there's a lot of concern there as well. And my wife and I are talking, I mean, how did they get into the cockpit, or what did they do? Because obviously with the screening process, you can't carry weapons on the airplane. So
They had to have, Eric, don't you think they had to have somebody in these airports? It was Newark, Dulles, and 2 out of Boston. They had to have somebody on the inside, did they not?
I guess maybe caterers or something or whatever, handing them the stuff. I don't. I don't know, unless it was already somebody that had access that could put it on the airplane before they even got on the airplane.
Now, you're a pilot?
Yes.
Commercial pilot?
Yes.
I was wondering, as I saw the first plane, the results of the first plane in the World Trade Center, and at that time they were saying it was an accident, and I thought to myself, there's no way that somebody, no pilot, unless the plane was somehow or another just jammed, there's no way that a pilot would have plowed in. Hang on, I have to take an ABC report. I have a question for you that maybe as a pilot you can answer.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
In the aftermath of a terrorist nightmare, President Bush must now decide what to do next. ABC's Ann Compton is with him at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. That's the site of the military's Strategic Air Command.
President Bush is driving in a small black sedan across off the tarmac to a location where Ari Fleischer tells us that he will be able to participate in a National Security Council meeting by teleconference. The president has with him just a skeleton staff: Karl Rove, Andy Card, Ari Fleischer, of course, Dan Bartlett, Gordon Jandro. There are 5 members of the press corps allowed to travel with the president at this point.
It comes after this morning's attacks on New York City and Washington. 2 planes slammed into the World Trade Center this morning. Not long after that, a plane plunged into the Pentagon. Congressional leaders have been taken to a secured site, as well as the Bush cabinet. The nation's capital is under a state of emergency. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Our number in Hillsboro is 990-WFLA. Pinellas 461 or toll free 800-969-WFLA. We're having a candlelight vigil here at the radio station at 7 o'clock. Have we received word on somebody that will sell us flags in bulk? Do you know? We're still working on that? Pardon me? We have the candles taken care of? Maybe? All right. We are looking for somebody that will sell us a ton of American flags. I want to make sure that anybody who wants to buy a flag has the opportunity to buy a flag, and we're going to charge cost on these. Will some American step to the plate and sell us a bunch of flags immediately so we can have them starting today? I also need your help on something else, and we'll talk about that after 4 o'clock. Now, we were speaking to Eric, who is a pilot. Can you say what airline, sir?
Sure, U.S. Air.
Do you believe that the pilots were dead?
At least incapacitated, most definitely, because it's like my wife said. She goes, even if somebody was holding a gun to your head, would you fly into a building? I said, absolutely not. They'd have to kill me because I wouldn't do it.
So these people had to have, because I thought the same thing, that there's no American that would ever do that. I mean, you don't even need to put it as an American. There's no real human that is still functioning as a human that would fly it into something like the World Trade Center. You could say that maybe the Pentagon, that there could be somebody from a foreign country that hates us so much that could fly it into the Pentagon, because that's a war building. But the World Trade Center is completely and totally human. And I can't even imagine. Now, all 4 flights, do you believe the pilots were dead?
Well, like I said, incapacitated somehow. I mean, I don't. Maybe they used chemicals in there or something. They had masks on or something. I don't know, but there's absolutely no pilot in this country that I feel that would ever fly their airplane with passengers in the back. I mean, any airplane into a building.
How many seats are on a 767 and 757?
Anywhere from about 180 to 250, depending on how they're configured.
I mean, how unbelievably lucky are we that the 2 planes that we know of, the 2 planes...
about a third full.
Yeah, that had, I think, 50 in one and 70 in the other.
Yeah, that's a blessing.
Eric, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right, bye-bye. Frank, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Good afternoon, Glenn.
Hi.
Listen, to all the people that are within the reach of my voice, today, there is no black and white. There is no brown people. There is no yellow people or red people. We're all just Americans today. There is no Democrats or Republicans. And we have to look at this and realize that this country has been attacked by people who have declared war on this country years ago. A holy war on this country. Now, when we were bombed in Hawaii and Pearl Harbor, we knew who the enemy was. The enemy was clear. Well, I say today that the enemy still is clear. We may not know the individuals responsible for this particular act, but we know that there are terrorist networks that exist in rogue nations like Afghanistan, the Sudan, Libya, Iran, Iraq.
Palestine is celebrating in the streets.
We know where these people are. And we need to declare war on terrorism and let the world know that there will be no safe haven for terrorists to train, to plan their attacks. We need to go out and invade the nations that sponsor terrorism, not invade the people, but to attack the sites where they train, where they are, reach inside those countries, and if they want to resist us, then fine. That's what it is. We are at war, whether we choose to be or not. We can either turn our back at this point and pretend like it's not happening, or we can bite down, and they forced us into this.
Thank you, Frank. Your calls after the news.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. The Bay Area's #1 for news and talk. This is News Radio 970 WFLA, Tampa Bay.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA. America responds to a terror attack. We now have some numbers from what happened in New York City at the World Trade Center. 50,000 people worked in the two 110-story buildings. So far, there are 5 known dead, 600 people taken to hospitals, 150 of them in critical condition, 1,500 so-called walking wounded, people who are ambulatory despite their injuries. At the Pentagon, an American flag flying in the rubble of the West Wing. A construction worker put it there to the cheers of hundreds. President Bush at an Air Force base in Nebraska, considering an address to the nation tonight about the horrendous destruction in New York and Washington. He's assured Americans that government's intact and the terrorists will be hunted down and punished. Let's get the very latest from ABC Radio News.
A memorial mass today at Washington St. Matthew's Roman Catholic Church. It's dedicated to the victims of today's terrorist attacks in the nation's capital and in New York. Planes slammed into the World Trade Center and into the Pentagon today. Washington, D.C. Mayor Anthony Williams.
We're declaring a state of emergency in order to put everyone on alert, in order to ensure that we have the highest level of preparedness. Obviously, if something were to happen, God forbid, and we pray that it won't, we will be fully prepared to then execute the necessary contingency plans.
The crash has left an image of the Pentagon many people thought they would never see. The Defense Department home up in flames. The New York City skyline has also been forever changed.
Where the World Trade Center towers stood, one of the most familiar sights in the New York area, altered forever. The buildings are gone. I am looking at 2 other buildings that I know the Twin Towers are supposed to be visible between them, and there's nothing there but smoke and ash.
ABC Steve Taylor, Daria Aldinger, ABC News.
And we continue in-depth team coverage on News Radio 970 WFLA. Governor Bush has declared a state of emergency in Florida, and he said basically that he had 1 or 2 requests for Floridians. 1, fly their flags even if at half staff, and thirdly,
I ask every Floridian who has ever prayed to pray tonight. Pray for the victims of this cowardly attack and their loved ones. Pray for the missing and the loved ones holding vigil between hope and despair.
Hillsborough, Tampa, FBI officials meeting today. 970 WFLA's Valerie Ingram with us now live. Valerie, what conclusions did the policy by them, this has a special name which escapes me at the moment, of board, which sets policies in matters of emergency. What conclusions did they come to?
Well, they've decided that the county is on alert. They say people should not panic, but know that law enforcement here is on alert, and they are prepared and ready. The flag here is at half-staff, and as we arrived, the members of the Tampa Tactical Unit were in full gear and armed here at the entrance of the Hillsborough Emergency Operations Center. That's where Hillsborough County Commissioners, mayors of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, along with officials from Tampa Fire, Police, and the Sheriff's Office were briefed by Hillsborough Director of Public Safety, William Studer.
We needed to run our checklist. We needed to make sure that we knew where everyone was supposed to be and what they were doing and why. How could we provide aid if necessary? Reviewing the procedures, because everything is in place. All you have to do is execute.
And execute they are. The county and city have offered support to MacDill Air Force Base. Tampa Fire has sent 2 K-9 search units to help in the affected areas. Reporting live in Tampa, Valerie Ingram, News Radio 970 WFLA.
For the first time in the country's history, there are no commercial aircraft flying anywhere. FAA has grounded the airlines after the 4 hijacked planes crashed, sending scores of passengers and flight crews to their deaths. FAA says no planes will be allowed to fly till noon tomorrow Eastern Time at the very earliest. Tampa International, as a result, a quiet place because of the lack of air traffic. Some passengers made unexpected stops in Tampa this morning.
The plane was landing when this happened. Yeah, they announced it on the plane. That they hit the towers and the Pentagon. Everybody was in shock.
I was in the air, and the captain came over the speaker and said he was diverted to come down to the quickest airport. So I guess we was in the vicinity of the Tampa, so we landed here.
And closings as of this hour. Of course, all planes are grounded. Roads in and out of MacDill Air Force Base are closed. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, and Countryside Mall, Lakeland Square Mall closed. Dillard's grand opening gala scheduled for tonight canceled. All 11 state universities closed. St. Pete JC closed tonight. HCC, all campuses closed. University of Tampa closed. Back to school nights in Pinellas County canceled. Greyhound bus stations are now operating normally. All major and minor league baseball games canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, all Disney-related theme parks, Discovery Cove included, are closed. Cowboy Junkies concert canceled, or postponed, I should say, and the Janet Jackson concert postponed for one night. Blood drives right now. Home Depot on Southdale Maybury. Blood Services Bloodmobile at Tropicana Field tomorrow at 8. And in Bradenton at Aerial Films on 15th Street East. A raft of prayer meetings tonight, most likely one at your house of worship. That's our update for the moment. We'll continue in-depth coverage with updates from ABC News and 970 WFLA through the afternoon, evening, and through the night.
Resolve of our great nation.
It was unbelievable.
The second building has just come down.
The second jet
is being tested.
Come crashing into the second tower.
I don't see a building. I see people.
Make no mistake.
Children without mothers and fathers tonight.
Oh, my God.
Make no mistake.
What is going on?
We will show the world that we will pass this test.
This is Glenn Beck.
Our national anthem. My name is Glenn Beck. It is Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. We are holding a candlelight vigil tonight. I will be out in our parking lot at 4002 Gandy Boulevard at 7 o'clock. At dusk, we light the candles. We were talking during the news that it might be more than just appropriate to be together with our heads bowed in prayer at 8:45 tonight. 12 hours after the attack on America. We are still looking for someone who's not looking for promotion that will sell us flags in bulk. You have it? I'm sorry, Stu?
We have candles.
We have candles.
The flags, do you want really big? Check it out.
No, what I want is, hang on, can you open up one of Stu's microphones here? We are putting this together on the fly, and you can't imagine what this building with 8 radio stations is like, just trying to sift through the information that is coming in today, let alone try to pull people together. So excuse us as our sides of the stage are showing. Now, what is the question?
What kind of flags are you looking for?
I'm looking for regular, just hang them up in your front yard flag.
Like how big?
I don't even know. What is that, 3x5s? 3x4s, maybe? Isn't that what a normal flag is? About a 3x5, something like that.
Okay.
It's a regular that you would go to Home Depot and buy. Well, what we're trying to accomplish is tonight at this candlelight vigil, I want to be able to sell you a flag at cost. I don't want anybody's. Yes, just that, Jeffy. What is that? That's got to be a 3x5. 3x5. Okay. We're looking for those, Stu. I want to be able to provide at cost anybody who wants to buy a flag that you can buy it so you can hang it at your house. Anybody who can't afford a flag, we will provide for free. But you should be flying your flag today proudly. I'm ashamed that we are working in a building, and I have thought of this for the last year, that we don't have a flagpole up front. And I don't know if we need... What are you saying here, Stu?
They're going to be putting flags up all on the front of the...
No, I understand, but we need a flagpole. I have a... I have a flag that flew over our troops during Desert Storm. That is enormous. That was given to me after the Gulf War. That should not be sitting in my closet at home. Somehow or another, in the next few hours, few days, we need to find out what it cost and how we put a flagpole up in front of this building. And I encourage you to do that at your place of business, at your house. It is one way we can all stand together. It is the one thing that unites us. I'm looking at the footage now. The World Trade Center, the base of it. It is honestly pictures that I saw in a movie when I was younger, the day after. Let's go to Anthony. You're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hello, Glenn.
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to comment about everything I'm hearing about all the terrorism and everything. I believe that it's an act that happened on this country from its own people in the country. And I think that the people who are responsible for it actually gave us the biggest sign and biggest clue that it was by the choice of planes that they chose to hijack. Out of all four of them, all four of them were too united and too American. And I think that right there is saying that it's Americans doing it to their own country. And I don't believe it's terrorism at all.
Well, Anthony, I have to tell you that while you may be right, I highly doubt you are. First of all, an operation like this took millions of dollars to fund. I don't think in America there are that many anti-American Americans that have that kind of clout and power and money. I think you're sadly mistaken. I pray that you are. Steve, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Glenn, you're the sanest, insane freak I've ever heard. I cried like a baby this morning. You have made me cry this afternoon. The first thing I need to tell you is put your delay on. Your delay is not on because I'm sure there are some freakazoids out there that will come on and say things that you'll not be able to blot out.
Well, our delay is on.
Well, okay. Over the radio and over the phone, it's not. But anyway, secondly, I'm proud to know that I live in a state where you are. I've never heard such heartfelt, absolute compassion that I have from you. And, I've dealt with people all day today. And everybody out there, they want blood, and they don't want just blood. They want buckets of blood. And I think rightfully so. We have, in the Bible it says, turn the other cheek. Glenn, we've turned our cheek so many times that we don't have a cheek left. And I think it's time that we get out there and do something.
Well, Steve, I thank you for your call. I don't think it is time today to do anything but mourn and band together and pray for guidance. Be the act of insanity, stupidity, and arrogance for us to act now. There's plenty of time to scream for blood. There is plenty of time to exact the price of the day's events. But I don't know about anybody else. I'm not there yet. I'm barely hanging on emotionally just on the overwhelming events of the day. I haven't been able to process, take out the human toll. I haven't even been able to process that the skyline of New York is different. Let alone that there is a possibility with 58,000 people working in the World Trade Center the possibility within an hour of business this morning, we lost more American lives than were lost in the entire Vietnam War. I'm not ready to scream for blood yet. I think it's time to be around like-minded people, people that you don't know. And hold on to them for dear life. And gain our bearings. And gain back our sea legs. So we can stand up and show that we do have a spine. First things first. This is day one. 7 hours into it. John, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
I've had better days.
Me too. I watched in horror and disbelief, as did every civilized person in the world, not just in our nation, but in the world. I think there's people all over the world that just can't believe what went on there. I watched, in total disbelief. I have a good friend of mine who works in the World Trade Center who, as of this moment, I still can't get a hold of. He works in the upper floors. We're expecting the worst, probably don't know. Like the gentleman who just called, my knee-jerk reaction was, let's pull all the nuclear warheads and let's just level the world. Just like you said, though, as time progressed, need to let cooler heads prevail.
And that we may get to the point where we're back at that starting point. To ABC News now for an update.
The United States Secret Service immediately secured the President, the Vice President, and the Speaker of the House, and they are all safe.
The counselor to the President, Karen Hughes. New York City and Washington, D.C. were the targets of major terrorist hits. In New York, the World Trade Center has been demolished when two hijacked commercial airliners were flown right into each tower about 18 minutes apart. ABC's Lisa Stark has some new information on this.
A government source tells me that on American Airlines Flight 11, again, that was the flight from Boston to Los Angeles that went into the trade tower, that a flight attendant on that plane was apparently able to call the American Airlines Operations Center to tell them that two flight attendants had been stabbed and that the perpetrators had broken into the flight deck.
ABC's Lisa Stark. ABC's Bob Schmitz with us live near the devastation in New York City. Bob?
Well, Larry, more than 7 hours after the first plane struck the World Trade Center, what's left of what were the 110-story Twin Towers continues to burn fiercely, and the fire, we understand, has spread to another building, sending a giant plume of smoke into the late afternoon sky. Thousands of emergency personnel are searching the area. There's no firm number of casualties. Mayor Giuliani won't speculate. He says it'll be more dead and injured than anyone can bear. And here, just blocks away, ambulances and emergency vehicles going by, Larry, almost nonstop.
ABC's Bob Schmidt with us live. Another hijacked plane was slammed into the Pentagon, causing partial collapse of that building. A fourth hijacked plane crashed in Pennsylvania. I'm Larry Jacobs, ABC News.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
Number in Hillsborough is 990-WFLA. Pinellas 461-WFLA. Toll free 800-969-WFLA. We're putting a candlelight visual together tonight. I'll be out at 4002 Gandy Boulevard around 7 o'clock right after the program. At dusk, we will light the candles. And I think it's appropriate that we would all be together at 8:45 tonight, which is 12 hours from the first act of terror on the United States of America. Our number in Hillsborough is 990, Pinellas 461, or toll free 800-969-WFLA. Hello, John. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Hey, Glenn, and as the day has progressed, there's two, I want to close up, I don't want to keep you too long, as two things have continued to progress as the day has gone on, as it's getting harder and harder to keep hope, because I don't know if we're going to ever get a hold of this fellow, because he worked in the upper floors and was an early riser, and the odds of him being in his office on over the 100th floor at that hour was pretty good, are very high. it basically is more and more just basically been my mantra that basically, like you said, we need to basically come together more and more, and even more so for myself and everybody as a nation. That's the one thing. The second thing is that I think cooler heads are going to have to prevail over time. And in that, I think that as a nation and as a government, I think that we need to, one, find out who is responsible, and then two, as a military and as a nation, we need to release an unbridled military response on not only the terrorists, but the nation and or nations that harbor those fugitives.
See, I agree with you, John, and I think, honestly, our response, when we find out who it is and who is harboring them, our response should honestly make our war in Desert Storm actually look like the Iraqis' response. Yeah.
It should look like a picnic. It looked like a little party that we had in Desert Storm.
Right. We should absolutely release everything that we have. Let them see the fury of the United States when it is fully unleashed. I agree 110%. However, we really need to understand what that will mean, because the United States coming in and doing the business of the United States in that part of the world could very easily trigger a World War III. You think we have enemies now? Wait until we take out, let's say, Libya or Afghanistan or Palestine.
I'd be there to take arms with anyone.
So would I, John. Thank you very much for your call. Let's go to Chris. You're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hey, Glenn. I used to work in the Pentagon during Desert Storm, and you lived in Washington for a while. You know where it is. It's real easy. Planes fly over the top of the Pentagon all the time. We were astounded that no one did anything during Desert Storm. But more to the point, as people are praying tonight, I think that we need to pray for our leaders, too, that we don't go flying off the handle and retaliate against the wrong people, or retaliate in a way that hurts people that are not part of this, because we can't be the same as they are. You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand, but I think what will change, what separates us is we will not party in the streets. God forbid we would ever party in the streets, celebrate in the streets, and pass candy when as many as 50,000 people who are innocent people are killed by a terrorist act. There's a great deal of difference between war and what has happened here. Even Desert Storm. Do you remember? We practically gave them the time and the flight pattern. George Bush, the elder, said it's going to happen on this, it's pretty much this day. You have until this time, and it was within hours of when that happened. This came as a surprise. When we do it, it doesn't come as a surprise. And I don't think our reaction will be surprising to the rest of the world.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
4:30, good afternoon. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA, as we continue our in-depth team coverage of the attack on America. Hillsborough County issuing a statement saying all local government offices and schools will be open on Wednesday. Most locally scheduled events are expected to resume tomorrow. The Emergency Operations Center partially activated following the attacks in New York and Washington. Let us get the very latest on them. In-depth team coverage continuing from the people of ABC Radio News.
Terror is gripping New York City, where two hijacked commercial planes slammed into and toppled the World Trade Center's Twin Towers.
The police officer told everybody to form a human chain, and we held on to each other, and he flashed the light, and he directed us to Building 5, and we went out Building 5.
Did you see people bleeding, and what did you see?
Oh, everybody could see. You want blood? Here's blood. Everybody's bleeding. People are laying all over the floor. It's horrible. And I was there the first time, and this is twice.
2 other commercial planes were hijacked. One was slammed into the Pentagon and the other crashed on the ground outside Pittsburgh. There have been casualties, of course, but there is no word on how many people have been killed. Here in New York, Manhattan has been sealed off. ABC's Bob Schmidt joins us live from Lower Manhattan, where the situation is still unfolding. Bob?
Karen, the fire burns on. There's word flames engulfing what's left of the World Trade Center have now spread to another building in the complex. There will be anxiety and perhaps heartbreak in countless homes in this area tonight as people who went to work this morning fail to return. 2,000 or more rescue workers are searching the area, which is now coated in a thick blanket of soot. Karen?
ABC's Bob Schmidt reporting live from Lower Manhattan, near where the World Trade Center towers once stood. The terrorist attacks have halted all air traffic in the U.S. and in Canada. President Bush has been flown to the Strategic Air Command in Nebraska. He's called it an attack on freedom itself and vowed to punish the culprits. ABC's Ann Compton tells us the president is now heading back to Washington. I'm Karen Chase. ABC News.
Air traffic, as you've heard, through the country has been grounded by the FAA, stranding thousands of people at various and sundry spots, many of which they don't want to be at. A lot of people stranded at Tampa International Airport. The FAA and the people at TIA are saying nothing will be flying before noontime tomorrow at the very earliest. So if you were planning on catching a late-night flight tonight, forget it. Let's just give you the cancellations. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside, Lakeland Square Malls closed. Dillard's Grand Opening Gala scheduled for tonight canceled. State Universities, St. Pete JC, HCC, UT, all closed. Pinellas County not holding back to school nights. The bus stations, Greyhound, had been closed for a while. All are operating normally. Major minor league baseball games canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Disney parks, including Discovery Cove, closed. Cowboy Junkies postponed indefinitely. Janet Jackson concert, which had been scheduled for tonight, postponed for one night. How can you help? Blood drives are underway at Home Depot on Southdale Maybury right now. There will be a bloodmobile at Tropicana Field tomorrow morning at 8. There's a blood drive right now in Bradenton at Aerial Films on 15th Street East. Prayer meetings, a lot of them tonight, 7 o'clock, Northeast Christian Church, 53rd Avenue South in St. Pete. Faith, the United Church of Christ on Drew Street in Clearwater at 7. 7 o'clock, Valrico, Holy Innocents Episcopal Church, holding a service and counseling, 604 Valrico Road. Idlewild Baptist Church doors stay open till 9 tonight, 1515 West Bierce. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Palm Lake Christian Church, First Baptist Church in Mango at Martin Luther King State Road 579. At a vigil tonight at 7 at the Evangelisco Presbyterian at Charlie Griffin Wood Road, Plantain City, at 7 o'clock tonight. Manhattan Avenue Church of Christ, Tampa, Wednesday at 7, a candlelight ceremony. 7 tonight, Bethel Assembly, candlelight prayer vigil, and tomorrow, 7 o'clock on West Hillsborough Avenue, apparently services tonight and tomorrow at Bethel Assembly. The Peninsular Christian Church in South Tampa across from Home Depot at 7 tonight. At 7 tonight, the Nativity Catholic Church at Brandon Boulevard. Those are the prayer meetings of which we are aware. We're constantly updating that list, and we'll have the very latest for you at the top of the hour. Continuing in-depth team coverage from News Radio 970 WFLA.
Let's go to Sharon Taylor, who is out. Hi, Sharon.
Hey, Glenn.
How are you holding up, honey?
Oh, I'm okay. Goodness, this is the most amazing cross-section of people out here. When they heard the call that blood was urgently needed, people came by the hundreds. There are literally hundreds of people in line, and I think at this point they're saying if you're not already in line, the wait would be so long. Just wait until tomorrow at Tropicana Field or one of the other locations where you can donate blood. Again, I'm at the Home Depot on Southdale Maybury, just a little bit south of Gandy. The Home Depot has brought fans outside to cool some of the people in line because it is so miserably hot. They set up tents for people to give them a little bit of shade. There have been deliveries of water, ice. Just the community outpouring is amazing that this tragedy has brought us all together. And you know, Glenn, it's so quiet. It's eerily quiet. People are just standing. They're not talking much. They're just all solemnly standing in line to donate blood because of the tragedies in New York and in Washington, D.C. today. So we will let you know the very latest on this. We'll be here for the rest of the into the evening here at Home Depot. and we'll tell you what's happening, and we will also let you know where and when to go to give blood in the morning. Sharon Taylor over at the Home Depot on South Del Mabry in Tampa.
Thanks very much, Sharon. And I'll be out at Tropicana Field tomorrow morning, beginning at 8 o'clock, where they'll be taking blood on the way in for their work tomorrow. Also at Legends Field, they'll be taking blood. Again, that's tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Republican Senator Orrin Hatch has told CNN that he has high-level information from the FBI that Osama bin Laden was behind the attacks. He said, quote, I do have some information. They have come to the conclusion that this looks like it may be the signature of Osama bin Laden, and he may be behind these attacks. The editor-in-chief of the Arab Daily newspaper said in London that bin Laden had been planning a big attack against the U.S. interests. Very good sources told me 3 weeks ago he was planning for a very big attack against the United States, American personnel and interests. Maybe this is the outcome of it. On the website at 970WFLA.com on the front page, you can find pictures of the day's events. On the front page of my website at GlennBeck.com, you will see all kinds of pictures from television all over the world. You'll see from the BBC, the Palestinians celebrating in the streets. You will see pictures of the plane hitting the World Trade Center as it collapses, the Pentagon, the President, and all the day's events. In case, for some reason, you have just joined us, the U.S.-Canadian border has been closed. U.S. Navy vessels deployed off the East Coast. Fox reported earlier today that West Bank people are celebrating in the streets. Reports coming in from all over the Mideast report people are celebrating in the streets, not just the West Bank. Afghanistan has issued a statement that said, Afghanistan, United States, feels your pain. Fire at the Pentagon still out of control and is spreading. Fox News reported that a plane crash in Pennsylvania was a failed attempt to attack Camp David. President Bush told us a couple of hours ago that the U.S. will, quote, hunt down and punish those responsible. Both World Trade Center towers have collapsed. They speculate now that there is at least 10,000 dead in each of the two towers. The White House, the Capitol, the United Nations have been evacuated. For the first time ever in the history of our country, we have stopped all aircraft. All flights nationwide stopped at their departure airports. All international flights were diverted to Canada. Fighter jets are now circling Washington, D.C. and New York City. Only medical personnel are allowed to use the streets in Washington. The Marines are in control of the streets of Washington. United Airliner Flight 93, headed from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco, crashed near Somerset. No survivors. Israel has evacuated their embassies. American Flight 11, Boston to L.A., 92 people dead. Chicago, Sears Tower has been evacuated. The Centers for Disease Control, Atlanta, evacuated. CDC at this hour is preparing bioterrorism teams, just in case it becomes necessary. 16 fighter jets scrambled over Washington, D.C. shopping centers across the country have been closed. Kennedy Space Center, LAX, Disney, all the Florida parks closed. World markets today down dramatically. Senator John McCain says this is an act of war. U.S.-Mexico border closed. And while most business stopped hours ago in America, our business day is still 17 minutes from closing.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Our number is 990, Pinellas 461, or toll free 800-969-WFLA. Hello, Gabe. Thanks so much for holding.
Hello.
Yes, Gabe, go ahead.
This is Kate. The problem that we have is that we always allow this thing to happen in some other part of the world. Osama bin Laden has been doing this thing in India for last 3 years. Just in the first 6 months of this year, 30,000 lives have been lost in Kashmir.
Through Osama bin Laden?
Yep. He has been waging a war against India in the name of this jihad for last 3 years.
Now, why isn't India a country with nukes?
Because he says that India is a Hindu nation. And he wants to fight.
No, that's not my question. Why isn't India responding?
India is responding much better than anybody knows. India just kills them. Indian military just kills them. Whenever they are spotted, they are shot dead. Shoot on sight. There is no court. There is no law. Military has been given an order. And that is the way America should respond to this Osama bin Laden. Forget these court cases in New York. Forget the long wait for the loss of lives. We already lost so many lives in that World Trade Center last year. We don't need that again.
Gabe, I thank you very much for your call, sir, and I respect your point, and I will be very surprised if this makes it to court. This is an act of war on the United States of America. This is not going to go to court. These people who are responsible are going to be taken out, hunted down, and killed. And most likely, the countries that are harboring these people also will have a price to pay. But quite frankly, that's just a guess today.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
And after today's terrorist attacks in New York and at the Pentagon, 2 hijacked jets were flown into the World Trade Center shortly before 9 Eastern Time this morning, and the Twin Towers, mortally wounded, soon collapsed. This woman saw the tail of one of the planes as the aircraft smashed into the tower.
If it was a bomb, it would have gone out, and it went in, and everything was pushed in. And then we saw the people jumping. We saw what we thought was debris, and we realized it was people jumping.
There are no estimates yet about the number of people injured, killed, or still buried in what's left of the towers. New York Mayor Rudolph Giuliani.
The city is now closed. The airspace around the city is closed. And we are on heightened alert, but we have no specific information suggesting any further attack.
In Washington this morning, a hijacked commercial jet slammed into a section of the Pentagon, opening up a 200-foot gash that's still smoking. Clarissa Douglas, ABC News.
News Radio 970 WFLA. Here's our number, 990-461 or 800-969-WFLA. Sammy, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hello?
Yes, Sammy, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say it's too early to speculate. I think the incitement does not serve anybody any good because I remember Oklahoma City bombing very well, where the Muslim and Arab community was accused, and there were over 200 incidents.
Well, nobody. Hold on just a second. That we're inciting against Osama bin Laden. First of all, the reports are coming out from high sources in the government that he looks like he is involved in it. However, I
remember the same thing happened during the Oklahoma City. There were also high sources saying the same thing, and it turned out it was homegrown terrorism.
So you're sticking up for Osama bin Laden?
I am not. Don't put me on the spot like that.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking you.
For us to say that this is a Muslim and Arab thing is very dangerous.
Excuse me. Nobody said this was a Muslim or Arab thing. Nobody has said that on the air.
I mean,
not even a phone call. You are the only one. Pardon me?
The Middle East is dancing and the people are dancing in the streets. This is absolutely not true. I've been watching
Sammy,
everybody is so horrified with this.
Sammy, I want you to go to the BBC.com. I want you to go to CNN. I want you to go to Fox News. I want you to go to the AP. I want you to go to AP. And don't you dare get on the air with me. Shut up, Sammy.
I didn't say
Don't you get... Shut up! Shut up, Sammy! I'm putting you on hold. You can speak in a minute. Don't you dare get on the air here and tell me that I am making things up when I have photos of people dancing in the street in the West Bank and Palestine and handing out candy. Don't you dare tell me I'm making that up when I'm not getting it just from an American source. I'm also getting it from the BBC. And if you would like to see the photos, go to any website. You can find them on mine. Now, Sammy, would you like to tell me how I'm making that up, sir?
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Maybe I should have shouted a little louder. Jill, you're on the Glenn Beck program. By the way, hang on, before I go to Jill. I have said I was on the air at noon today. I have said on this program that before we make any move, we better fall to our knees and beg our Heavenly Father to help us before we make any move. This could be the beginning of World War III. I have said on this program several times today that it's not time to scream for blood. It is not time to say, we need to go get this person or that person. You and I don't make that decision. We need to pray that the people we have put into office have the ability to discern the facts and to find the truth. And then we decide what needs to be done. But there are a few things that we do know are true. There are a few things that we know have happened today because we've seen them on television. We know that our country has been attacked by someone. We know that we exist in a state of war. We just don't know who our enemy is yet. We also know that in the West Bank and in Palestine, and I'm not saying that they're the only places in the world, there are people dancing in the street. I also hope and pray that when we do retaliate, we never, ever even consider dancing in the streets over death.
This is the Glenn Beck program. The Bay Bay Area's #1 for news and talk. This is News Radio 970 WFLA, Tampa Bay.
It's 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA. You can still see smoke from what was the World Trade Center in New York. The towers, Twin Towers, where tens of thousands of people work, are now in ruins, a result of an apparent terrorist attack involving 2 hijacked planes, amongst a series of such attacks today. President Bush, on his way back to the White House, he stayed away from the nation's capital after the attacks. He is flying back from Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. He's ordered the nation's military into high alert status, and officials say Bush advisors are preparing a list of options, including closing the nation's borders. We've seen 2 big C-5As take off out of MacDill this very afternoon. Make of that what you will. ABC News has the very latest and a live, in-depth team coverage update.
President Bush is heading back to Washington after this morning's terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon. Hijacked jetliners were flown into the buildings. The Trade Center's Twin Towers soon collapsed. This man is lined up to donate blood.
I got O negative. I heard that they need it. I'm here. I said, thank God I'm alive. To donate. But I can't believe the turnout. It's amazing. America is America.
ABC's Steve Taylor reports from Liberty State Park in nearby New Jersey.
We have injured victims coming across the Hudson River to New Jersey by boat. Ambulances wait here at Liberty State Park to sweep them to hospitals. But there are buses waiting here, too, because many of those coming off the boats are not injured, but for where they were when the World Trade Center disasters happened, the safest way out of New York is across the river.
ABC's Steve Taylor. Commercial flights might not resume until tomorrow at noon at the earliest. The U.S. trading markets will be closed tomorrow. Clarissa Douglas, ABC News.
And we continue with our live in-depth team coverage. Val Ingram's just back from a briefing at the Hillsborough County Emergency Operations Center, where officials gathered to assess the situation. Val, what did they tell you?
Basically, it was a meeting with all of the emergency operations personnel, as well as the Hillsborough County officials, the commissioners, the sheriff, Tampa Fire, police. They were all debriefed as far as what state of emergency, or not really emergency, but they're on a heightened alert. The EOC is partially activated. That means that the law enforcement officers have a sense of awareness. To reiterate, when we got there, actually, the TAC team was there. I mean, members of the Tampa tactical team were there, fully armed, automatic weapons out, and asking for ID, which that has never happened.
No, not whatsoever. What's the game plan for tomorrow?
Well, Mayor Dick Greco has indicated that things will go on as normal in Tampa. Office workers are expected to return to work if they left today. Hillsborough County as well are expecting their workers back. And Tampa police indicated that they will be fully staffed and ready to go when needed.
And if they are needed, and we all hope and pray that they will not be, there is a state of emergency in Florida. It's a precautionary move. The National Guard on alert if Governor Bush should need them. All the airlines are grounded by order of the FAA, and that left a lot of people at TIA.
Well, we just finished a breakfast, and they were taking back the dishes and so forth, and the plates, and they said, we just got a call from the flight control tower that we need to make a stop at Tampa. And they didn't have any reason.
He said that that the plane was all sound, mechanically sound, so it wasn't the plane. So everybody got a little bit at ease then. But then out of the way, he said that the uniformed personnel would let us know once we get on the ground. And so we got on the ground, and then they broke the news to us.
From Fort Lauderdale to Houston with a stop in Tampa and no continuation. 970 WFLA Sharon Parker's been at TIA. They've been updating their situation. Sharon, what's the very latest on when people will be flying again?
Well, Ed Cooley of the Hillsborough Aviation Authority says that there will not be any flights in or out of TIA until at least noon tomorrow. As you heard just a little earlier on the ABC report, that is nationwide. That's a nationwide mandate. He says that 7 flights were diverted to Tampa today because it was the closest airport for those flights at the time of the terrorist attack.
We've got a very stable situation right here. We had geared up in case we had passengers that were stranded and were staying in the terminal building. Obviously, that has not happened. Those passengers, some of them were bused to destinations. Some of them have been put up in hotels.
Cooley says the airport is secure. He also says if flights do resume tomorrow, passengers may want to show up a little early due to the crowds. and possible heightened security. Reporting live in Tampa, Sharon Parker, News Radio 970 WFLA.
Governor Bush, as we have indicated, has indicated that we are under a state of emergency, but he says Floridians should feel safe.
Our seaports, our airports, the power plants, communications, water, all of these things, the people responsible for implementing plans for moments like this are implemented. I think Floridians can feel quite safe.
Here are the things that are closed. The latest update for you. All roads in and out of MacDill Air Force Base, as you can imagine, are closed. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside Mall, Lakeland Square Mall, closed. Dillard's grand opening gala, scheduled for tonight, canceled. All Starbucks through the country are closed. All 11 state universities closed. St. Pete JC, HCC, UT, all closed. Pinellas County will not be holding back-to-school nights tonight. The Greyhound bus stations have reopened. Major and minor league baseball games canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, all Disney-related theme parks, including Discovery Cove, are closed. Cowboy Junkies concert postponed indefinitely. Janet Jackson concert postponed until tomorrow night. There's a blood drive at Home Depot on Southdale Maybury. Blood Services, Bloodmobile at Tropicana Field tomorrow at 8. There's a blood drive at Bradenton's Aerial Films. That's on 15th Street East. A raft of prayer meetings at 7 tonight at Northeastern Christian Church, 53rd Avenue South, St. Petersburg. Rock of Hope Church at 7:30. It's at 5903 47th Street in Tampa. Grace Family Church, 5101 Van Dyke Road in Lutz, 7 to 10 prayer vigil. At 7, the Faith United Church of Christ on Drew Street in Clearwater holding a prayer service. Praise Cathedral at the Renewal Center, 4371 76th Avenue North in Pinellas Park, 7 o'clock. Onico United Methodist Church, 2112 53rd Avenue East in Bradenton, 7 o'clock prayer service. Our Lady of Lourdes in Dunedin, 750 San Salvadino Road at 7:30. Clearwater St. Michael Archangel prayer vigil at 7:30. 7 o'clock in Valrico, the Holy Innocents Episcopal Church holding a service. They follow that with counseling. 604 Valrico Road is their location. Idlewild Baptist Church doors stay open till 9 tonight, 1515 West Bierce. And Wednesday night at 8 o'clock at Palm Lake Christian Church, First Baptist Church in Mango, at Martin Luther King State Road 579. Vigil tonight at 7, Plant City. Evangelisco Presbyterian at Charlie Griffin Road at Plant City at 7. Manhattan Avenue Church of Christ in Tampa tomorrow night at 7. 7 tonight, Bethel Assembly, Candlelight Vigil tonight and tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It's on West Hillsborough Avenue. The Peninsular Christian Church in South Tampa across from Home Depot at 7 tonight. And at 7 tonight, the Nativity Catholic Church at Brandon Boulevard. United Way accepting donations for the National Response Fund. Money is going to victims and their families. You can donate through their website, www.uwopc.org, or call 727-535-3545. Food Line and Cash and Carry stores collecting food for the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. They actually would prefer contributions in cash rather than foodstuffs. That's where we stand at this hour. We can update you at our website, 970wfla.com, and we'll be here with you through the evening and through the night to keep you updated with the latest on the attack on America. I'm Don Richards.
Resolve of our great nation
was unbelievable.
The second building has just come down.
The second jet
is being tested.
Come crashing into the second tower.
I don't see a building. I see people.
Make no mistake.
Children without mothers and fathers tonight.
Oh, my God.
Make no mistake.
What is going on?
We will show the world that we will pass this test.
This is Glenn Beck.
Our national anthem. Some of the quotes from today. New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani. I have a sense it's a horrible and horrendous number of lives lost. My mother is going crazy. I hope my brother's all right. He's my out-of-work partner. He's my hangout partner. I'm just in shock. Edwin Cruz, 34, whose brother Richard works in the World Trade Center. Every single American, no matter where you live, the whole country's on edge. Linda Wilson, 42, Denver. I heard a boom. People were jumping off buildings everywhere. They were just jumping. Serena Mays, construction worker, Williamsburg Bridge, New York. Everyone was screaming and crying and running. Cops, people, firefighters, everyone. It's like a war zone. New York Fire Marshal Mike Smith. It's just sick. It shows how vulnerable we really are. Keith Myers, 39. It looked like a ticker tape parade. It wasn't paper. There were parts of the building floating down in the dust. Matthew Lowe, 29, Manhattan. I just can't believe what's happened. My God, my heart goes out to all of these people. I just hope that there is justice. Martha Ridley, whose daughter died April 1995 in Oklahoma. I just saw my 2 towers fall. I'm devastated beyond belief. In many respects, this is significantly worse than Pearl Harbor. We just don't know who the enemy is. Louis Eisenberg, chairman of the Port Authority, New York, which operates the World Trade Center. It's so scary. It could happen to us. They could hit all the major cities at this point. How would we know? Christy Nitch, 39, Columbus. Whatever the lowest floors of the fire was, they were just jumping from them. I guess it was their choice. Burn to death or jump. This is the second Pearl Harbor. I don't think I've overstated it. Senator Chuck Hagel, Nebraska. All of a sudden, there were people screaming. I just saw people jumping out of buildings, their arms waving. I stopped taking pictures, and I started crying. Michael Walters, freelance photojournalist, Manhattan. Join me in prayer. George W. Bush. I ask you if you're driving in your car or if you have not left your parking lot, to pull over to the side of the road or turn off your car and leave your key in the ignition for a moment. I ask you to pull over to the side of the road now so I can have your undivided attention. It's not something we need to talk about. It's something we need to do. I think it is appropriate as we end our business day today that we together ask for a blessing on this great nation. So I ask you to pull over your car. Stop what you're doing. Hush your surroundings. And take a moment with me. As we speak to our Father who gave us life. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask you today to watch over us. Your children are confused and frightened. We are saddened by the loss of our brothers and saddened by the violence that our other brothers have brought upon us. We ask for your warm embrace. We beg for your guidance now. We ask for the guidance of our leaders, that they may put aside all hatred and have a clear view as to the truth and what must be done. We ask for a blessing on those families that are missing their loved ones tonight, the fathers and mothers that left for work this morning and didn't come back. May they have your peace and comfort in their lives as well. And we say these things ever so humbly in the name of our brother Jesus Christ. Amen. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Terrorist attacks. The targets, New York City and Washington, D.C. A total of 4 commercial airliners were hijacked, 2 of them flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center complex. Those buildings collapsed. They are gone. We are live with ABC's Bob Schmidt near the devastation in Lower Manhattan. Bob?
Well, Larry, this promises to be a long night here. Lights and heavy construction equipment are being brought to the scene of the World Trade Center collapse. The light is fading now. They're going to need those lights to continue searching. Thousands of rescuers are at the scene looking for additional victims. Fire continues to burn in the debris. A fire, witnesses say, is spreading. Mayor Giuliani calls this terrorist act barbaric. The toll of dead and injured surely now in the hundreds, perhaps much higher. Larry?
ABC's Bob Schmidt with us live. Another hijacked airliner was crashed into the Pentagon, partially demolishing that building. A 4th hijacked plane crashed in Pennsylvania, apparently short of its mark. It's thought it could have been going to Camp David to attack that area. ABC's defense correspondent John McWethy in Washington, D.C. says this attack was not detected.
Intelligence officials say they had no warning whatsoever. There had been no indications of an attack inside the United States or even against American facilities overseas, no specific threats. So this came as a total surprise to the intelligence community.
ABC's John McWethy. Laurie Jacobs, ABC News.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. You're listening to the Glenn Beck Program.
Well, there's a couple of things going on. World Trade Center building number 7 has just collapsed. That is a 40-story building that was next to the World Trade Centers. Building number 7, 40 stories, has just collapsed in New York City. Tonight, at 4002 Gandy Boulevard, I'm going to go after the program at 7 o'clock. I'm going to go outside and we will have a candlelight vigil at dusk. As soon as the sun sets, we will light the candles at 8:45, 12 hours since this madness began. We will bow our heads, remember those who were lost today, and pray for those who are making decisions in the coming days. That's tonight, a candlelight vigil here at WFLA on Gandy Boulevard. I hope to see you there. Now, I also have several flags. An anonymous donor has called up and has contributed $1,000 for flags for those who can't afford one. I have 100 flags being delivered by Joe and Joan Elam, their listeners who are celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary today, and they are bringing with them 100 flags tonight. In case you don't have a flag and you can't afford to buy one, we are going to provide one for you. The Cousin family of Enterprise Art in Clearwater is coming with 500 candles for our candlelight vigil tonight. Another listener, Bob Marlowe, is there now picking them up and bringing them to us. Sharon Taylor is out at a blood drive where the response is overwhelming. We'll talk to her in a little while. I will be out tomorrow morning at the Trop at 8 o'clock where they're asking people to give blood. Also, if you can't make it to Tropicana Field, Legends Field at 8 o'clock, they will also be taking blood. Jill, you've been holding for quite some time. I thank you for that. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Yeah, I just say, I don't always agree 100% with things that you may say from time to time, but you know what, brother? This one, I'm right on the money with you. And my heart today, when I saw the bill go down, I just thought, my Lord, that's all I could do was cry out. What else can you do? And just seeing that, and then when you gave the statistics of over 58,000 people working there, and another 10,000 that just like to go visit, and I thought, that's a horrible thing, but it is the world that we live in, unfortunately, and things have to be done about it. And I wanted to thank you for standing up and having people pull over to pray. I know where your heart is, and I know that can also take a lot of guts to do on public airwaves, and God will honor that.
Well,
and I think a lot of people need it.
Jill, I don't know. I'm so glad to hear the first thing that you did was cry out, because when I heard it today, that is the first thing that I did as well. And I hope that we continue to do so. We need it now more than ever. Your phone calls when we come back. It's September 11th, 2001.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
5:30, Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA, as we continue in-depth team coverage of America Under Attack. A very familiar name on the lips of officials in Washington. They say Osama bin Laden is at the top of the list of suspects in today's attacks. The editor of an Arab newspaper in England says he was warned by Islamic fundamentalists weeks ago that there would be a huge attack. Palestinians cheered the attack. Yasser Arafat saying it's terrible and unbelievable. Let's get the latest from ABC News.
A series of chilling and coordinated terrorist attacks have rocked the nation. Terrorists hijacked 4 commercial jetliners and crashed 2 of them into the World Trade Center in New York, first setting them on fire and ultimately toppling them. Another smaller building just across from where the towers once stood just collapsed moments ago. ABC's Steve Taylor joins us live from a park across the river from the very different skyline of Manhattan. Steve, what do you see?
Karen, when number 7 World Trade Center went, it was very clear from here. A huge column of brownish-white smoke rose at least half a mile in the sky. It's still there, just dominating the view. It is the biggest plume we have seen since the bigger Twin Towers collapsed this morning. This is the place where wounded people who are being evacuated from lower Manhattan by boat are landing, being met by ambulances from all over northern New Jersey and being taken to hospitals, quite a few hospitals nearby, as the medical facilities, as you might imagine in New York City, are being overwhelmed. And now the column of smoke changing color again, getting darker, which usually means fresh material to burn. I cannot give you more details than that, Karen.
ABC Steve Taylor reporting live from just across the river from where this is all happening. A third plane slammed into the Pentagon, killing at least 100 people and setting the building on fire. People from coast to coast are terrified.
I'm afraid. I got family in New York, and I'm unable to get through to them right now. I've been trying to call them ever since all this happened, but it's going to have a ripple effect. Yeah, I know it's going to have a ripple effect, but what the effects are, I'm not sure. That's the frightening part.
A 4th plane crashed into the ground in Pennsylvania. There were no survivors. President Bush has called the attacks an attack on freedom itself and vowed to find and punish the people behind it. He's planning to address the nation sometime tonight. That time has not yet been determined. I'm Karen Chase, ABC News.
And when the president does speak, obviously you will hear it live on 970 WFLA. Some late information: about 100 people are believed to have been killed or injured in the attack on the Pentagon today. It was hit by a jetliner, and one side of the nation's military headquarters has collapsed. The other news of this day, away from that, if we can for a moment, there's a tropical depression over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. It's about 170 miles west-northwest of Key West, moving west-southwest at 5 miles an hour. Expected to go to the west-southwest or west during the next 24 hours. Top winds 30 miles an hour, not expected to strengthen through tonight. But a tropical depression over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, obviously something else that we will keep you informed of. The cancellations that we have so far involve all the aircraft grounded. Noon tomorrow is the earliest any will fly. MacDill Air Force Base under tight security. Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside Mall, Lakeland Square Mall closed. The grand opening gala for Dillard's, scheduled for tonight, canceled. All 11 state universities are closed, as are St. Pete JC, HCC, UT. Back-to-school nights in Pinellas County are canceled. The major and minor league baseball games in the area canceled. Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Disney-related theme parks, Discovery Cove is closed. Cowboy Junkies concert has been indefinitely postponed. Janet Jackson will perform tomorrow night. Same ticket is available. If you have a ticket, just use it tomorrow night at the Ice Palace for the Janet Jackson concert. We will continue to keep you updated with live, in-depth team coverage. I'm Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA.
This is Glenn Beck.
990-461 or 800-969-WFLA. Sharon Taylor from the morning show. It's been a very long day for you. Welcome back to the program.
It's what an odd afternoon it has all been, odd and painful. And about 5 o'clock, I decided just to walk around this parking lot here in the Home Depot on Dale Mabry, just a little bit south of Gandhi, just to see how many people were in line waiting to give bloods because Florida Blood Services had put out the call. Glenn, I counted 750 people. And there had to be another 100 beyond that. Now, because of that, Florida Blood Services is going to shut this down. They've already told people at the end of the line to go on home for tonight because they've got as much as they can handle right now. what they're asking is that you come to Tropicana Field tomorrow morning at 8 or Legends Field in Tampa, and then you can get a chance to donate blood there, because as a lot of people have told me this afternoon, this is all they feel they can do, and of course the blood is urgently needed. So that is the story right now here at the Home Depot on Dale Mabry, just a little bit south of Candy in Tampa.
Thanks a lot, Sharon.
Okay, Glenn.
I'll be out at Tropicana Field tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock covering this for the morning show, seeing that they were covering it for my show today. I'll be out there tomorrow. Tonight, here at Gandy Boulevard at 4002 Gandy. At 7 o'clock, I'll leave the building and I'll meet you out in the parking lot. I just thought it was important that we would have a place where we could meet. In case you didn't have a house of worship that was doing a prayer vigil tonight, if you just wanted to be with Americans, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, white, black, Asian, Middle Eastern, where we could all be Americans tonight at 8:45. We will remember the dead. That's tonight. We have a candlelight vigil here at 4002 Gandy Boulevard. JC, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Glenn Beck, you're a benevolent, caring American.
Well, I don't know how, JC, anybody can't be. I think we all are today.
This morning I came out of a meeting and I flipped on the radio about 5 after 9, and it was talking about this, and I thought, well, I don't know what that means. I get home and I see the TV, and I got 2 grandchildren with me, and the other 3 grandchildren and their parents were on a plane that flew out of TIA this morning for Washington. Needless to say, it was a very disturbing few hours. And my son called, finally, and they were diverted to Charlotte. And he had absolutely no idea what was going on. They didn't tell him anything. And I had to fill him in.
You have kids in the house.
I had to fill him in on what was going on, and they were just taken back. They were still at the airport looking for a car to rent. And it was just amazing that in God's way, he spared them the event of going to Washington and then to New York for a wedding. It was her brother's wedding, and it was just amazing. And people often say there's no divine intervention or God that exists. They don't do nothing for me, but look around. He had done something for my son and his family and my family.
JC, thank you very much, sir, for your phone call.
This is the Glenn Beck program. This is Glenn Beck.
990-461 or 800-969-WFLA. Hello, Dawn. Thanks for holding. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hello. My name is Dawn. I am from New Jersey. I'm down here in the Tampa area right now. I had some family that was down in the area, down in downtown by the Twin Towers. Everybody has made it back. But my questions are basically, do we know for sure if this is a foreign attack or is this an Americans on Americans crime?
Boy, Dawn, I certainly hope this is not an American attack.
I'm praying it's not, almost.
Yeah, it would be, I don't even know how to begin to handle an attack like this if it was done by an American. However, the FBI has just announced in the last few minutes that they are 90% sure.
90%.
That 90% that this is Osama bin Laden. The president is going to speak tonight. I don't have a time yet. I would imagine he usually speaks at 9 o'clock. He is going to address the nation tonight. And maybe, I'm not sure, this would be awfully fast, last just 12 hours away from the explosion and the terrorist activity, that he might have an answer for us tonight. But I pray that you are not correct. Could it be? Yes, maybe. Ian, you're on the Glenn Beck program, 970 WFLA.
Hi, Glenn. It's a very, very sad day in American history today, and it's unfortunate that this came to be. However, I would have to place the blame for this incident squarely on the face of the United States federal government and its foreign policy of aggression throughout the world. If we did not occupy over 100 countries worldwide with our forces, perhaps we would not have a problem with terrorism. So if you ask me, it's the government's fault, and that's unfortunate.
Okay, well, I'm not asking you. Scott, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hi there. We have a situation that I could not believe. I saw on 3 different national broadcasts Palestinians cheering in the streets at the death of Americans. As far as I'm concerned, every student visa of a Palestinian in this country needs to be canceled. Send them home. No American tax dollars, no investment for people that would cheer the deaths of American citizens. For this or not.
Well, we have to be extremely, extremely careful. Please, let's not get into a situation like we were in Pearl Harbor. Just because you look different, you're an enemy. There are people of Middle Eastern descent that are good, strong, valiant Americans. Now, when you're talking about the people who are over on visas, well, maybe. I know I'd be horrified if I saw my fellow countrymen dancing in the streets over anything. We didn't during the Gulf War. I'd be horrified. And when you see the photos or the videotape of the Palestinians dancing in the street, passing out candy to passerbys, I think you'll be horrified as well. If Palestine had anything to do with this, which there is no indication, none whatsoever, if there was any idea that they were involved, they've awakened a sleeping giant. And you can guarantee Israel's statehood from here on out, if that were ever proven. But at this time, it looks like Osama bin Laden. But as Don said, we don't know. Now is not the time to scream for blood. Now is not the time to beat our chest, to beat our war drums. Now is the time to stand together. Now is the time to fly your flag. Now is the time to join arm in arm, no matter what your color, no matter what your accent, no matter what your political affiliation is. Now is the time to prove to our parents and our grandparents that they are not the greatest American generation. We are. I believe the greatest American generation is the one that is in charge and alive at any given time. Just some of us need an opportunity to prove it. And that time is now.
President Bush is on his way back to Washington to address the country tonight over the terrorist attacks that changed the New York City skyline forever and battered the Pentagon. The president was reading to school kids in Florida this morning when the attacks happened. The World Trade Center towers were hit by hijacked airliners and flown into the top floors. 7 adjacent buildings have collapsed. ABC's Rebecca Abrahams was there when the latest building went down.
Another building just collapsed. All of a sudden, hundreds and hundreds of people just started running through the street. A couple of people got trampled. This is from triage. Just everybody started running and screaming, and you can see there's billowing clouds of smoke coming up from the building. That's one less building on the skyline at this point.
In Washington, there's a gaping gash in the outer ring of the Pentagon after another commercial jet, also hijacked, slammed in. A 4th hijacked jetliner crashed near Pittsburgh. Clarissa Douglas, ABC News.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Here's our phone number, 990-WFLA, Pinellas 461, or toll free 800-969-WFLA. I remind you that tonight, 4002 Gandy Boulevard, we're having a candlelight vigil for not only those who lost their lives today in buildings, on planes, or those trying to save lives that gave theirs, but also a prayer vigil for those members of our government and armed forces that are going to be making decisions and acting on those in the coming days. Tonight at 7 o'clock after the program, we will start to meet. As soon as it gets dark, and I don't even know. What time is that? 8 o'clock? It starts to get dark. We will light our candles tonight, 8:30, and at 8:45, it will begin. Hillsborough, the number is 990-461 or 800-969-WFLA. After 6 o'clock tonight, I'm going to share with you something that my web designer, Chris Brady, sent to me. It's a prediction from Nostradamus in 1654 that I think you will find hair-raising after 6. TJ, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Yeah, hi, Glenn. Great pleasure to talk to you, as always. You're definitely you're right on the money today. I want to commend you greatly. Like the lady before the break said about the prayer. I mean, when you call for prayer, you're doing the right thing. And
TJ, I'm not calling for prayer. The president has asked us.
Well, anybody that backs that up, especially using the airwaves, they're to be commended. I've been with you 100% from the beginning. When the people from Ormond Beach had their troubles on Bush, I sent my dollar, and I was with you on that. And, I just can't picture in my wildest nightmare that this could be American versus American. I just can't.
I can't either, and honestly, TJ, I don't even want to go down that road unless I have to. I'm not mentally prepared to go down that road. I don't know about you, but I'm exhausted today. I am physically beat into the ground. And I don't know, I don't have the stamina, at least today, to consider that this was anybody but a foreigner.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Glenn. I've got elderly parents, and that's the only reason I can't come to your thing tonight up there on Gandy. But we're going to be with you in spirit. And you got a lot of guts, a lot of just integrity and great common sense. And your station is a credit for having you.
Well, thank you very much, TJ. I appreciate it. Eddie, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hi, Glenn. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I tell you what, I'm just blown away by the events that's happened today. And I understand with the prayer and, you want to get everybody that we should show that we're united. But I tell you what, the first feelings over seeing it was just pure anger. It was unbelievable.
I think that makes you human.
Yeah, my wife and I have talked about it and everything today. There was even talks earlier that Congress was talking about a declaration of war, but on who? The only thing I can think of, out of anger, just anybody who's ever been a threat to this country, the Afghans for allowing bin Laden to live there and thrive there and not turn him over to...
I actually think I would support that. I'm not sure yet, but as it stands at a couple of minutes before 6 o'clock, I actually think I would support that. Making Afghanistan, anybody who supported this, anybody who has ties to Osama bin Laden, I wouldn't mind paving over and making into a giant glowing parking lot.
Oh, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind at all. I just that between that, I mean, just a word to a symbol to all the world that hey, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. As far as whether it be even the domestic militia groups. Now, I just don't think that they were that organized to do those things.
No, and they don't have the money to do it either. I thank you very much for your call. The East Coast of North America, it's 6 o'clock.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. The Bay Area's #1 for news and talk. This is News Radio 970 WFLA, Tampa Bay.
6 o'clock, Don Richards, News Radio 970 WFLA, as we continue in-depth team coverage of America under attack. The president en route to Washington. He is expected to address the nation tonight following the deadly terror attacks in New York and Washington. Bush spirited from Sarasota to Louisiana to Nebraska before he returned to the nation's capital. Obviously, if he speaks tonight, you'll hear it as it happens on 970 WFLA. Third building in the World Trade Center complex has collapsed following this morning's collapse of the twin 110-story towers after they were hit by hijacked jetliners. Third building had been evacuated. About 100 people reported killed or injured after the hijacked plane slammed into the Pentagon at about the same time the World Trade Center was attacked. The military on high alert status. Who is responsible for all of this? Speculation focuses quickly on fugitive Osama bin Laden. One federal law enforcement source says he's at the top of the list. Let's get the latest from ABC News.
President Bush addresses the country tonight over the terrorist hijacking attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. ABC's Steve Taylor has an update from Liberty State Park in New Jersey.
The mayor of New York has urged people who can to walk out of the financial district. For hundreds of those who can't, injured survivors, they're getting out by boat, coming here to the New Jersey waterfront where ambulances are carrying them to hospitals.
The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center collapsed after they were hit by hijacked commercial jets. At least 7 adjacent buildings have also collapsed. ABC's Pam Coulter has the latest from Washington, where a hijacked airliner slammed into the Pentagon.
Even as the smoke continued to billow out of the Pentagon, some lawmakers on Capitol Hill were calling the devastating terrorist attacks an intelligence failure. Kansas Senator Pat Roberts said the Senate Intelligence Committee had no indication the attacks were coming. Pentagon officials say they, too, had no advance warning.
ABC's Pam Coulter. I'm Clarissa Douglas, ABC News.
The Hillsborough County Emergency Operations Center has been partially activated. They're monitoring events and say there is no known security threat against the Tampa area. Bill Studer, director of Hillsborough Public Safety, says they've done their checklists and they're ready.
You don't want to get out in front of people. There's nothing worse than having somebody give you a lot of things that you don't need. Timing is everything. So we know what we can provide, and we're standing by to provide that.
Bay Area law enforcement supplying extra security support for MacDill Air Force Base. Coast Guards out in the bay patrolling the seaside of the base. Tampa Fire has sent 2 canine search and rescue teams to help in recovery efforts in New York. Ed Cooley of the Hillsborough Aviation Authority says there won't be any flights until at least noontime tomorrow. And if flights do resume, it'll take some time to get the nation's airline system working again.
We think because the airlines are going to have to redeploy their airplanes, it's not going to all happen in
one time. We don't have all the airplanes here. So once the all clear is given, those aircraft are going to have to get in the air, get back in the system, and then get rescheduled in here. So the aircraft that are here will have to be redeployed as well.
Cooley says 7 flights were diverted to Tampa this morning at the time of the attack. They're still grounded, obviously. And when flights do resume, Cooley says if you're flying, arrive early to deal with the crush of passengers and what most likely will be heightened security at the nation's airports. Blood donations needed to help shore up the Bay Area blood supply and help supply the areas of the country involved in the attacks. With all air traffic grounded for a while, Rob Sumner with Florida Blood Bank Services says,
as a result of all the air transportation being shut down, many centers cannot get their testing completed, which further compromises the blood supply.
Blood drive underway at the Home Depot on South Gandy. Bloodmobiles will be at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Legends Field at Tampa, starting at 8 tomorrow morning. These are the closings that we have for you as of this hour. Obviously, planes grounded till at least noon tomorrow. All roads in and out of MacDill Air Force Base are closed to non-base personnel. The Brandon Town Center, Citrus Park Center, Countryside Mall, Lakeland Square are closed. Dillard's grand opening gala scheduled for tonight has been canceled. All 11 state universities are closed. St. Petersburg Junior College closed tonight. Hope to resume tomorrow. Hillsborough Community College, all campuses closed. University of Tampa closed. Back-to-school nights canceled in Pinellas. Major and minor league games canceled. The amusement parks are closed. Cowboy Junkies Janet Jackson concerts are postponed. Janet Jackson till tomorrow night. We are told that there are bombings underway in Afghanistan as we speak, that explosions can be heard in Kabul, which is the capital city of Afghanistan. It's the home of the ruling Taliban, which has supported in the past Mr. bin Laden, the terrorist who many suspect in today's terror bombing attack. We'll have more on that as developments occur. But again, there are explosions reported in Kabul, Afghanistan, as perhaps retaliation for today's terror attacks gets underway. Osama bin Laden has been considered the top source, or the top suspect, if you will, in today's terror attacks in Washington and New York. We will continue to keep you updated through the day, through the nights, through the early morning hours on News Radio 970 WFLA.
Resolve of our great nation.
It was unbelievable. The second building has just come down.
The second jet is being tested.
Come crashing into the second tower.
I don't see a building. I see people.
Make no mistake.
Children without mothers and fathers tonight.
Oh, my God.
Make no mistake.
What is going on?
We will show the world that we will pass this test.
This is Glenn Beck.
We are watching live pictures now come from CNN in Kabul, Afghanistan. There are explosions. They believe they may be cruise missiles. U.S. intelligence officials say 90% certain that bin Laden was responsible for the attack. John McCain has said we exist in a state of war. Can we go to CNN? This is CNN exclusive audio.
To watch there. Now let's turn to Judy Woodruff
for us in Washington. Judy.
Joey, we are in the studio in Washington, but of course riveted to these pictures coming out of Kabul, Afghanistan. With me in the studio watching former United States Defense Secretary William Cohen and Republican Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah. I want to ask both of you about what's going on. Let me begin with you, Secretary Cohen. Is this something that is likely to be the United States retaliating, which is what I think immediately comes to people's minds?
I think we have to be very cautious in coming to that judgment, Judy. What we're looking at now is the United States gathering information and intelligence. Obviously, there are many plans and contingency plans that we have to deal with responding to any potential terrorist threat that might be in the offing again. But I think it's very premature to make any judgment on this. This could be part of the civil war that's been raging on for some time, and so I think we have to wait to get more information.
What do you mean part of a civil war?
Well, there's been a civil war raging in Afghanistan for some time now, and this could be simply the factions still carrying on their fighting in Kabul, rather than any kind of attack being launched by the United States.
Are you saying, Mr. Cohen, that it's unlikely that the United States would move this quickly? I'm asking that because just a few minutes ago I was interviewing former Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger, and he said flat out what the United States needs to do is strike against countries like Afghanistan that are harboring terrorists and not wait to find out exactly who was responsible for today's atrocities.
Well, I think we do have to isolate and ostracize those countries like Afghanistan and others who are on the terrorist list who will give safe harbor for terrorists. But I think we have to be a little more judicious rather than simply striking out. We have to get more information, and further strikes might be warranted. But at this point, I think we get all the information, then make a very ice-cold decision in terms of what we need to do to protect the American people.
You're hearing the voice of William Cohen. He's a former defense secretary. He is speaking live on CNN. CNN has exclusive pictures from Afghanistan that is harboring Osama bin Laden. And there seems to be explosions in Afghanistan. Speculation is this might be retaliation from the United States. We do not know. And the only people that have anyone on the ground in Afghanistan is CNN.
People who are associated with bin Laden basically said that they had hit 2 targets. So it looks to me like there's increasing evidence, even though it's fragmentary and even though it's not positive, that bin Laden is behind all this. And of course, I first warned the nation in 1996 on Meet the Press that we better get hold of bin Laden or he's going to kill Americans.
We're going to bring back our Nick Robertson there on the ground in, or I should say on top of a building there in Kabul. Nick, you're on. Go.
Well, certainly the fire we were watching on the horizon before, I'd made the assumption that it was an oil depot burning because we'd certainly seen flames, a dull yellow fire turn into a bright orange fire with flames leaping into the sky. I've been informed by my associates here who work with us in Kabul that it's very likely an ammunition dump that we're looking at. They believe an ammunition dump is located in that area. That, of course, would account for some of the explosions that we've been hearing here as ammunition has detonated and gone off from that location, Judy. Yeah. Certainly it's all quiet here in Kabul right now. Certainly no more explosions are being heard around the city. And we certainly believe what we're looking at now is an ammunition dump, the fire at that dump now dying down, and we're hearing no more detonations coming from that dump. Certainly Kabul is within striking range of some of the long-range missiles that the Northern Alliance has and is capable of launching in this direction. And certainly in the past, the Northern Alliance has launched missiles at Kabul. It is not without the realms of possibility that the Northern Alliance could launch missiles at this time. The Northern Alliance in the last couple of days has gone through the rather traumatic process of an assassination attempt on its key leader, Ahmed Shah Massoud. Still unconfirmed whether that leader is alive or dead, and certainly there's a ferocity within the internal fighting going on in Afghanistan at this time. One certainly cannot rule out that any missiles falling on the city tonight could be coming from that Northern Alliance.
So, Nick Robertson, just to clarify, you're saying it could well be part of a civil war that we see here, and not a result of something coming from the West, NATO, the United States?
From our vantage point this evening, we can certainly report a large number of explosions around the city, what appears to be an ammunition dump on fire, a lot of return fire coming up from positions in Kabul. We cannot say from this position at this time exactly where the missiles are coming from, those causing the detonations in and around the city of Kabul. It is possible it's from the Northern Alliance, and of course there is the other possibility that we've been talking about this evening.
All right, you've been listening to live coverage from the other side of the planet,
Fire that you've been seeing
from Kabul, Afghanistan.
This war that's been going on in Afghanistan is.
As they wrap up this interview, let's listen to the few remaining minutes.
No, one would definitely have to say it's not typical. The strikes on Kabul have been very infrequent over the last few years, very occasional. The Northern Alliance very aware that it's been blamed in the past of many civilian casualties by launching attacks on Kabul, so there have been very few direct attacks on the city. And indeed, the forces of the Northern Alliance are at such a distance back from the city, only long-range, medium-range missiles capable of going 30, 40, 50 miles are able to reach the city from their positions. And it's certainly not something that's happened in this city, a barrage of this type, a sustained artillery attack or missile attack of this type in recent years even.
All right. As we are watching and monitoring the situation, just seeing the pictures that are coming out of Afghanistan, it doesn't look like anything the United States would do after a day like today. I would hope that when we found the people that were responsible and are connected to the events of today, we use the full force and might of the United States of America and rain down fire like has never been ever been seen before on planet Earth. I would be surprised, and now listening to what he had to say and seeing the pictures that are coming out of Afghanistan, that this would be our response to the terror that has happened within our borders today. Andy, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Talking about keeping our cool and waiting to find out who's responsible. I had some people at work who I thought were fairly enlightened people who were calling for kicking all the Palestinians, all the Arabs out of the country, and I want to say that there are a lot of Arabs and a lot of Palestinians who are here because they don't care for the tyranny and such over in their country, and they want to be here. They want to be Americans, and they will help us. If we treat them like the enemy, then they could become the enemy because of what we do. But if there are people here, we're all a nation of immigrants, and we're all here basically from other countries except for, some of the Native Americans that we have left. But what we need to remember is that we have people here from the Arab countries who they want to be Americans. They want to be counted as Americans eventually, and we shouldn't jump to any rash conclusions that they are the enemy right now, because they could be our friends, and that's all I pretty much wanted to say.
I agree with you 100%. Just because somebody doesn't look like an American, I don't know exactly what that looks like, or sounds like an American, doesn't mean they're not as red, white, and blue as the next guy, and maybe even more so. Sometimes the people who have just come in from other countries appreciate America more than even we do. And they appreciate it in a time when we haven't had buildings blown up, burnt down, planes crashed. After 7 o'clock tonight, we have a candlelight vigil here at WFLA at 4002 Gandy Boulevard at 7:45, which is 12 hours from the plane plowing in to the World Trade Center. We will bow our heads, remember the dead, pray for the living, and pray for guidance. I invite you to come. We also have a few flags on hand for those who can't afford to buy a flag themselves and hand it out. I want to make sure you have a flag that you can hang in front of your house. Starts at 7 tonight, 4002 Gandy Boulevard. See you tonight.
There are explosions being witnessed in Kabul, Afghanistan. CNN reporting that there are various detonations. It is not known what is being attacked or by whom, although apparently there is anti-aircraft fire at incoming missiles. A U.S. official says it is believed not to be U.S. action. Could be Afghani opposition. And in New York City, where terrorists attacked the World Trade Center complex with hijacked jetliners taking the Twin Towers down, a third building there has now collapsed. ABC's Rebecca Abrahams was watching when it came down.
Another building just collapsed. All of a sudden, hundreds and hundreds of people just started running through the street. A couple of people got trampled. This is from triage. Just everybody started running and screaming, and you can see there's billowing clouds smoke coming up from the building. That's one less building on the skyline at this point.
ABC's Rebecca Abrahams. The Pentagon also hit this morning by a hijacked airliner. That building has been partially destroyed, killing at least 100. ABC's Pam Coulter is in Washington, D.C.
It's being compared to Pearl Harbor, and now the nation seems like it's on a war footing in the wake of the terrorist attacks. Troops were immediately deployed. Units of the D.C. and Virginia National Guard called to action or put on alert. And 2 aircraft carriers, the John F. Kennedy and the George Washington, were ordered toward New York. Reuters reporting they would be used to provide air defense.
ABC's Pam Coulter. President Bush scheduled to address the nation tonight. Larry Jacobs, ABC News.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Well, we're not sure of what the format is on tomorrow's program. We have been tapped by Clear Channel Broadcasting to broadcast nationwide as a part of some strange, I don't know how it works, some strange broadcast from 3 till 6, coast to coast. It will be me and 2 other Clear Channel talents that I don't even know who they are. I hope, I'm praying that they're not, we're not doing point counterpoint tomorrow, and we're on with a couple of idiots that want to make, some sort of, well, anyway, that'll happen between 3 and 7 tomorrow on this station. And coast to coast through Clear Channel Broadcasting. I also understand that all the Clear Channel stations tonight will be carrying the Bush speech, and after that we'll be carrying this station live in the overnight. We are going to be live tonight. Am I mistaken? Is Mark Larson going to be on tonight at 7 o'clock? 7 to 10 tonight, and then who's on? And then Don Richards on from 10 to 1. We're going to be live. You're kidding me, right?
That's the note I have in my hand.
Seriously? Jack Harris is on from 1 to 5? All right. Well, things just make more and more sense as the day goes on, I guess. So, all right. But it's going to be carried on all of the Clear Channel stations here in town. You will have nonstop coverage all night long. Starting at 7 o'clock with Mark Larson. And, of course, out in the parking lot tonight, as soon as it gets dark, we'll light the candles. And at 8:45, we will have our candlelight vigil to mark the 12-hour mark of the day today. Here at 4002 Gandy Boulevard, I invite you to come down with your family and join us tonight. Hillsborough, the number is 990. Pinellas, 461, or toll-free 800-969-WFLA. Hello, Britain. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hey, Glenn, you sick patriotic freak. I love you. I just had to let you know what happened to my work today. I work for a major shipping place. Give you a hint, we drive the big brown truck. And I saw the best and the worst of humanity. The best case was a lady in Chicago called me up. She was...
Wait. Give me the worst first.
You want the worst?
I need something to hang on to today.
Okay. Guy from New York City, downtown, was screaming, where the blank is my blanking package? Because his next day air package didn't get there at 10:30. He was worried about that.
Well, might have been important. Might have been a paper or something. The best.
Okay, best one. Lady in Chicago called me up. She was in tears. And she was just saying, please do not send my driver out. We love him. You know, I just don't want anything to happen to him. And I started crying on the phone with her. It was amazing. I felt like there was an actual shred of decency left in the world.
Well, I think there's a ton of it. All right, in a minute, we are going to share with you the Nostradamus prediction from 1654 that I think is a little hair-raising, that my webmaster Chris Brady pointed out and brought to my attention today. Jeffy, have you seen it? Stu saw it, and his mouth just dropped open. We'll share with you the prediction that Nostradamus, believe in him or not, and, you know, he's hard to read, and so you can read it a million different ways, but it is pretty amazing. On today's event, we will share that with you coming up in just a few minutes after the news, and then Paul Harvey, and much more, including your phone calls at 990-461 or 800-969-WFLA.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
It's 6:30. Good evening. Shayna Lance, News Radio 970 WFLA. Right now, Florida's in a state of emergency. The United States military on high alert status, and the rest of the nation is in a state of unrest. Explosions in Afghanistan right now. They can be heard from the nearby city of Kabul. No information as to whether they are retaliation for the terrorist attacks against the United States today, but we are looking into that. For the in-depth team coverage, let's join ABC Live now with the very latest.
The world reacts with horror and outrage to today's series of terrorist attacks here in the U.S., the hijacking of 4 commercial passenger jets and the crashing of 2 of them into New York's twin World Trade Center towers.
Pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie.
Both towers immediately caught fire and ultimately collapsed into heaps of debris. New York City officials have just wrapped up a briefing on the rescue and recovery effort. ABC's Tim Schell joins us live with details.
Karen, officials here will still not speculate on just how many may have died here, but New York's Mayor Giuliani told reporters,
I don't think we yet know the pain that we're going to feel when we find out who we lost, but the thing we have to focus on now is getting the city through this.
And the priority here this evening is recovery. This is the FBI's Barry Maughan.
The investigation will take a back seat to search and rescue. Obviously, personal safety is number one concern, even for us in law enforcement.
Karen?
ABC's Tim Schell reporting live. A 3rd plane slammed into the Pentagon, setting it on fire and killing at least 100 people. A 4th crashed into the ground outside Pittsburgh. More than 100 were believed aboard. There were no survivors. President Bush has vowed to hunt down and punish those responsible for these terrorist attacks. He is expected to address the nation tonight. I'm Karen Chase, ABC News.
President Bush is expected to address the nation at 9 o'clock tonight. We are now being told you can hear it live on 970 WFLA. With continuing in-depth team coverage, visit our website at 970WFLA.com for more on the attack, how to donate blood, or where to find vigils, rather. News and weather together, top and bottom of every hour. I'm Shayna Lance, News Radio 970 WFLA.
come back. So Nostradamus in 1654 said, "In the city of God there will be great thunder, and two brothers will be torn apart by chaos. While the fortress endures, the great leader will succumb. The third big war will begin when the big city is burning." Two brothers torn apart by chaos. Could it be the twins? The Twin Towers? Mike, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I was just looking over your website. That's brilliant there. I just had a comment about, this is a time for Americans to come together, and this is when we traditionally do it best. I'm thinking that is for reparations, that we don't necessarily have to go after blood, that perhaps right now we can take away some of the economic provisions given to the Middle East and specifically to the Palestinian state, and go ahead and just start funding their enemies. And
well, isn't it ironic that we did help Afghanistan, did we not, in the 80s?
Yes, we did, because they were fighting the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just say that now is the time to turn around and say, look, enough is enough. And if you're gonna support this kind of action against our country in whatever way that you support it, that we're going to take away from you, we're going to give it to your traditional enemies. And it's kind of like it would turn it over from our hands and do some devastation back to the people who are dancing in the street right now, because of our suffering, that it would just give something back.
Thanks, Mike, for your call. Tom, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Yeah, Glenn, how you doing?
I've been better.
I know, it's been a rough day. I just had a comment. A friend of mine has a brother that lived up in Manhattan and was there this morning at 10 o'clock, was supposed to leave on an airplane. And he turned his rental car in at $49 a day. And then after they closed down all the air traffic, are you there?
Yes, I'm listening.
After they closed down all the air traffic, he went to re-rent the same car, and the price jumped to $249 a day. I thought that was kind of strange that they're cashing in on the fact that people...
Well, I thought it was interesting. Someone called, and maybe somebody can verify this if you're on a cell phone and you have driven by and seen the price of gas today. I got here early this morning, but I have received calls that price is already up 10 cents a gallon. Why do you suppose that is? Jim, you're on the Glenn Beck program, News Radio WFLA.
Yes. I have something to say about what happened today. My prayers go out for everyone in the United States, for the families. But what I'm getting to, the point is, was back in 1980, in the 80s, we had George Bush, that was our governor, our president, of the United States at the time. And there was the Desert Storm war that was going on.
Okay, get to a point.
The point is that Saddam Hussein, all right, our government allowed him to go. They allowed him
get to a point.
Free, all right? And what the point is that I'm not trying to get into a blame game here, is that why should we think not that someone that was as sick as that person, all right, would not try to come back?
Okay, all right, I can't deal with it anymore. First of all, here's the deal. We did exactly what we said we were going to do. Now, if you wanted us to break our word, if you wanted us to say to the rest of the world, we're not here to rout out Saddam Hussein. We're here to give Kuwait back to its people and stop the aggression. That's what we said to the rest of the world. Now, if that's not what we meant, we shouldn't have said it. If we wanted to get rid of Saddam Hussein, then we shouldn't have said that to the rest of the world. But that's what we told them. And so when we finished in Kuwait, we said, you know what? Our word is our bond. We're not going into Iraq. Now, was that a mistake? Yeah, in retrospect, sure was. But I don't remember hearing the throngs of America taking to the streets at that time saying, oh, what have we done? We should have gone in and got him. No, what America was saying at the time was, thank dear God that more Americans didn't die. End it. We kept our word. We kept Americans alive. Now, 12 years later, it may have been a mistake. But at the time, we were men and women of our word.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
We go to Donald Rumsfeld now, Defense Secretary, and hear what he has to say.
Chairman Hugh Shelton has just landed from Europe. Secretary of the Army, Tom White, who has a responsibility for incidents like this as executive agent for the Department of Defense, is also joining me. It's an indication that the United States government is functioning in the face of this terrible act against our country. I should add that the briefing here is taking place in the Pentagon. The Pentagon's functioning. It'll be in business tomorrow. I know the interest in casualty figures, and all I can say is it's not possible to have solid casualty figures at this time. And the various components are doing roster checks, and we'll have information at some point in the future, and as quickly as it's possible to have it, it will certainly be made available to each of you. I'll be happy to take a few questions after asking First General Shelton if he would like to say anything, and then we will allow the others to make a remark or two.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Secretary just said, today we have watched the tragedy of an outrageous act of barbaric terrorism carried out by fanatics against both civilians and military people. Acts that have killed and maimed many innocent and decent citizens of our country. I extend my condolences to the entire Department of Defense families, military and civilian, and to the families of all those throughout our nation who lost loved ones. I think this is indeed a reminder of the tragedy and the tragic dangers that we face day in and day out, both here at home as well as abroad. I would tell you up front, I have no intentions of discussing today what comes next, but make no mistake about it, your armed forces are ready.
Chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Carl Levin.
Our intense focus on recovery and helping the injured and the families of those who were killed is matched only by our determination to prevent more attacks, and matched only by our unity to track down, root out, and relentlessly pursue terrorists, states that support them, and harbor them. They are the common enemy of the civilized world. Our institutions are strong, and our unity is palpable.
Senator John Warner.
Thank you. As the past chairman preceding Carl Levin, I can assure you that the Congress stands behind our president, and the president speaks with one voice for this entire nation. This is indeed the most tragic hour in America's history, and yet I think it can be its finest hour, as our president and those with him most notably our Secretary of Defense, our Chairman, and the men and women of the armed forces all over this world stand ready not only to defend this nation and our allies against further attack, but to take such actions as are directed in the future in retaliation for this terrorist act.
All right, that was Senator John Warner, Armed Services Committee. A live briefing at the Pentagon. We will, of course, bring you up to date. Live coverage continues all night long here on News Radio 970 WFLA. There are reports coming out of Kansas City. $5 a gallon for gasoline. Missouri Attorney General Jay Nixon says the prices are up to $5 a gallon in Kansas City, and they're a result of opportunistic gouging and are illegal, and he will prosecute. It has been confirmed that gasoline is over $4 a gallon in Louisville. Rumors of $5 per gallon in Detroit. Gas lines formed all afternoon through Tulsa, blocking major streets and intersections. Tulsa County Sheriff actually had to ask for calm. The Secret Service has taken the leaders and the Bush family to secure locations. We don't know where they are. I don't think we have a right to know anyway. Senator Hatch, we have intelligence that two connected to Osama bin Laden have said over private airwaves, we hit 2 targets. More on that with Mark Larson. Our final comments in a minute.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Disappeared. I mean, it's just a huge cloud of smoke, and it just disappeared on me. And there was no Twin Tower anymore.
Bill Bluver was one of the countless eyewitnesses who saw the towers of the World Trade Center in New York almost dissolve shortly after 2 hijacked airliners crashed directly into them. Earlier, New York Governor George Pataki had words of encouragement for the city.
We will get through this, and we will continue to have a great and free country, state, and society.
In a stunningly coordinated attack, another hijacked jetliner crashed into the outer ring of the Pentagon this morning. And there was a 4th commandeered jet. It crashed near Pittsburgh with no survivors. There is a report that plane had targeted the presidential retreat at Camp David. President Bush addresses the country tonight. He was in Florida when the attacks happened. He stopped at 2 Air Force bases in Louisiana and Nebraska and is expected to arrive at Andrews Air Force Base shortly. I'm Clarissa Douglas, ABC News.
Vacations are good. Saving money on vacations is good. Trying to put together your own vacation is, well, not good. Travelocity knows this. They have over 5,000 vacations, cruises, and tours ready to go. You simply click the vacation button, and in a couple of easy steps, you get a vacation. You can even tell them how much money you have. In the blink of an eye, up comes a comprehensive listing of options. Hotels you'd have your mother stay in, airlines you'd actually fly, destinations you've heard people rave about, at prices you thought only insiders got. Vacations to all the fabulous places you've always wanted to go. You could probably call us Vacationosity. Maybe not. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
Travelocity is giving away 30 Carnival cruises to celebrate its 30 millionth member. During September, visit Travelocity.com/30cruises for details on how to enter this 7-day cruise giveaway. No purchase necessary. Limited time offer. See website for details.
There is just a ton of news coming out from all around the world. Out of Cairo, Bullseye commented 2 taxi drivers as they watched footage of the 2 twin towers of the World Trade Center shrouded in plumes of smoke after 2 presumably hijacked planes. I think we're beyond presumption now, aren't we? Nice work, said a guy who drives a car for an Asian embassy. The Americans have forgotten that God exists. They have brought us by the throat, and now they find themselves in a science fiction film scenario. But this time, Rambo's not there to save the White House. And as we discussed earlier, other scenes from the streets over in the area. People were partying in the streets and handing out candy to those who passed by. While tonight, all across America, people are starting to gather in their synagogues, in their churches, in their mosques, to say a silent prayer, to say a prayer of thanksgiving for all that we have received and all that we have. Even after all of the events today, we still have it better than most countries on the face of the planet. People are gathering to say goodbye to the dead and pray for their families. And also pray for guidance for the leaders of our country. President Bush left this morning from Sarasota. His helicopter is now landing on the lawn of the White House. He's going to speak to us tonight. We'll carry it live. Your thoughts are usually Mark Larson's thoughts. He'll express those and listen to your words after 7 tonight on News Radio WFLA. And I will see you tonight at 4002 Gandy Boulevard. I'll leave the studio in a few minutes. We'll go outside. We have a candlelight visual as we get close to the 12-hour mark at 8:45 is when we will bow our heads in prayer. And I hope to see you there tonight with your family around 8 o'clock. Until 3 o'clock. God bless the USA.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up
This is the Glenn Beck Program.